AntiGravity is the most powerful AI coding tool on the planet right now. And whilst most people are using it just as a chatbot, I found a system that lets you build apps 10 times faster to a way better standard. And by the end of this definitive masterclass on AntiGravity, you're going to be able to build six-figure web applications, animated websites, full dashboards, and so much more. You'll even be able to recreate any complicated workflow from N8N and connect to powerful tools like NotebookLM, meaning that you can unlock capabilities that 99% of people don't even know exist, and that you can build essentially anything that you think of faster than your competitors and to a way better quality. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Jack Roberts. I built and sold my last tech startup with over 60,000 customers, and now I run a seven-figure AI automation business. Agentic workflows have changed everything, and this video is the most comprehensive, up-to-date masterclass on anti-gravity on the entire internet. So feel free to bookmark this. I've timestamped everything down below so you can come back to it. And with that in mind, grab that coffee and let's dive straight in. So welcome to the beautiful AntiGravity Masterclass. Now, as you may know, AntiGravity is huge. It's a pretty big deal. It is essentially Google's new coding app that launched very, very recently. Now, the best way to explain this is to think that Microsoft Word is for documents, Excel is for spreadsheets. AntiGravity, when we talk about that, is basically just about building software and any software you can imagine. For example, AI apps, websites. It can be your personal Jarvis, AI systems. And you also get access to Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT, so some of the world's premier models within AntiGravity. And it's basically an agentic first coding environment. That's its kind of main USP. Now, you can build within AntiGravity beautiful UI dashboards. And the thing about great UI dashboards is that they are the translation layer between really complicated data or complex data and better decisions. And AntiGravity lets us turn that data into beautiful dashboards as an example. Now, you can even learn how to build gorgeous animated websites. For example, just like this one. Now, this entire thing that you're seeing right now, this beautiful midnight sky, this button effect here, this harbor over here, all of this was built within AntiGravity. Every single part of it, even this slider here for the reviews, I come down and this animation right here, again, you might have guessed it, I have no coding background. I did this entire thing in AntiGravity with the exact same principles that I'm going to show you in this video. And it even lets you create an account on the website using all the skills that you're going to learn in this video. And the truth is that most websites you see suck, right? They're either tractors, which means they get the job done, but they don't look very great, or they're Ferraris, which look amazing, but they have no engine. They look flashy, completely no value. But we want a unicorn, which is great design and its functionality. And we're going to learn how to do unicorns in this video. On top of that, you're going to learn so much more that people don't even know about AntiGravity. And you're also going to learn skills within AntiGravity, which basically means any great work, any automation, any system that can essentially automate anything you want to, from lead scraping, lead generation, creating content, you literally name it, we can build this within AntiGravity now. And skills let us make that great work repeatable. It saves us on context windows. It makes them shareable and scalable. The stuff we're going to go into in this video explaining exactly what skills are technically, but essentially we can create skills for anything. Onboarding systems, database migrations, competitive intelligence systems, design protocols. It's just like being in the Matrix, and you're also going to use exactly how to use skills, when to use skills. I'm going to give you my top 5 skills as well in the video, along with all the resources are going to be available down below for you in the description. Now, as you'll know, most vibe-coded apps, which do many different things, are broken. They look really bad. They don't work. But we're going to cover a proven system in this video that basically lets you build full stack stuff. Now, you might be wondering, Jack, what on earth is full stack? Well, it's basically the front end and the back end together. So the front end is all about making it look beautiful, and the back end is about making it functional. AntiGravity does both those things. My last startup, for example, we had to hire people who were full stack developers or back end developers, front end developers. AntiGravity does all of this. And I want to give you just a top level overview here about all the amazing stuff that we can do with AntiGravity that you're going to learn in this video. And that's not all, says Fry from Futurama. You're also going to learn how to integrate over 150 models within AntiGravity. Some of them completely from free as well. So you can save money and power up your building and build faster than anyone else. AntiGravity is a coding app, right? And the best way I want you to think about this when we think about different models like this is that AntiGravity itself is kind of like a fighter jet. It's like an environment. So there are many different options that you could use. So we're using AntiGravity. You could use something called Cursor. You could use Windsurf. You could even build in something called the Terminal. These are what we call your fighter jets, but we're choosing AntiGravity for a few different reasons. And the model that we use, so Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini is the pilot. So when you hear expressions like Claude Code, Claude is just the model. All they're talking about is the fighter jet pilot, not the actual plane itself. We're talking about the plane, and we'll use any of the pilots we want to. And so the two models that you get with AntiGravity natively are Claude and Gemini, but using OpenCode, as I'll show in this video, we can get access to 150 different models. How we build is fundamentally changing because there's been a huge shift. We can now essentially create automations with our words. And why don't we take a live example? So, for example, if I want to scrape the #1 AI newsletter, what is the easiest way for us to do that? Well, previously we would build a really big workflow. We'd spend a few hours, we'd watch some tutorials, learn how to do it, and that required both skill and time. But now you can literally just type it into a search bar and type it and build and get amazing AI systems. This is an example of that very thing that I built, just basically talking to AntiGravity. But what is really happening here? Well, if you think about it, this is important context to understand the big shift that led to the moment. These platforms here are integrators, okay? And they connect things to other things, basically. Now, Claude and Gemini are the executors, right? Said another way, these connect things, and this actually does the thing, this executes for us. Now, 6 months ago, if you're on YouTube or anywhere else, you would have seen that workflow builders were everywhere. And then we had the rise of vibe coding, and now we have AntiGravity that can basically do everything for us. So instead of building out a scenario like this, we just say, hey, build the thing, please. And what AntiGravity does, which is really cool, is it connects to all of our applications. And when you connect AntiGravity to anything, once you get something in AntiGravity, you can essentially do anything. We can also create parallel agents, which means that we're no longer limited to one terminal. We can have 8, 12, 40, as many agents as we want to, working in parallel, building on our projects. And the use cases from N8N and Make, and let's think about these actual use cases for a second. It's a way to talk to a lot of services. It's a place to run things on a schedule, and it's a way to glue steps together and also do some basic error handling. But AntiGravity actually does all of those things now, plus it thinks. On top of that, you can also chat with it about various different things, which is very cool. So with that in mind, I found the best way to learn this software is to actually build something together. Now, the first thing I want to do is get you your first app developed and built, and we're going to do this in the cloud. So you don't even need to touch anything on your desktop, because if you've never built an app before, it can feel a little bit overwhelming, and I want to get you your first one. So if you've already done that, feel free to jump ahead, but I'm going to build the first one with you online, step by step, in a very quick, easy way. And then once we've built this application, we're then going to head straight over to AntiGravity and start building. Beautiful. Now, to build one online, there are lots of different options. The one that I'm going to show you is one that I actually first got started with, which is Lovable. They're crushing it now on the market. You'll find it really easy. And one of the cool reasons of using Lovable is the integrations they've got natively built in. So I always say, if it's your very first time ever building an app, I typically say Lovable's great. There's obviously some really cool options, but this is the one that I started off with, and really good to help you understand how to build your first app. Now, pretty much all we do is chat to it, and it builds stuff for us, which is really cool. So let me show you the concept of how we build an AI app. Now, what I want to do with this one is build, let's say, a Kanban board. And again, we're not even going to use any of the systems yet. This is just to show you how this works and how easy it is. I want to build a Kanban board. So let's click on the box and give it a cool prompt. Hey there, dude, what I would like you to do for me is go and build a Kanban board. I would like it to have the following features. I'd like to be able to have a complete, let's say, a to-do and in progress. And in fact, what I'd like you to do first of all is ask me questions to clarify your understanding, just to make sure we crush the features down. I want the design to be gorgeous and interactive. I would also like to have an integrated AI chatbot that I can ask questions to at any time. I want to have that in there. And I also want the ability to save this information in a database so I can come back and use it whenever I want to in the future. Awesome. So I've given it a pretty cool prompt. To do this, by the way, I'm using Glido, our speech-to-text startup, but just launched in beta. It's very cool. Some say the fastest in the world right now, which is decent. And what I'm going to do in Lovable is go into plan mode, which again, this is just like building on easy mode. Click on plan mode so we can get back and forth. But before we do that, let's actually give it a little bit of design guidance. So we're going to go so deep into design this video. I hope you're ready. Like, we've got AI designers everywhere. So these apps are really good at basically creating a front end quite well. And you'll notice that AntiGravity really excels in building super scalable stuff architecturally. And these front ends things are incredible for these, getting your first prototype out. So what I want to come on Dribble is basically like a design interface. We can find things. Let's go down for, if I type in something like Kanban, and a Kanban is just a cool, easy product to-do list, very, very decent. Let's come and have a quick look to find one that we think looks really cool. So basically, whenever you're building with these apps, and again, it's just dead simple, it's just an idea. You can pretty much do anything you want to. We'll try to find inspiration. So I really like the look of this one. I mean, it could look a little bit better, but I think it's not very high color. So we can copy this image. We can come over to our platform and drop that in. Bam, beautiful. Then we can go back out of it and let's find another one. This one's really cool. Yep, grab that. That's a little bit better perhaps. Come back over and drop it in. And then we say, awesome. I'd like you to build it in the design, use the reference images as your design style. Beautiful. Once that's done, I'm going to hit off and hit enter. Now, fundamentally, when you're building an AI apps, I've got a full system to make it very easy. But fundamentally, this level is just sort of explain the thing that you want, give it design references, and then all you're ever going to do is just spar with it, chat with it on the left-hand side, and effectively it goes ahead and builds it for you. Now, one of the reasons that I am using Lovable as your first instance is because you'll get a taste and a flavor of basically the Lovable cloud integration. So Lovable doesn't require you to add any API keys or any dashboard access. You can connect that obviously. So it's like a first-time beginner just wanting to get your first thing built. It's easy. And obviously, I'm going to show you everything in this video step by step, take you from zero to hero with AntiGravity. But if you've never built before, first thing is first is let's get your first thing live so you understand just the kind of process and feel of it. And you have what I call this magic moment where the first thing gets live and you're like, okay, cool, I kind of get it now. Then we go deeper down the rabbit hole. Okay, beautiful. So now we've got a couple of questions to come back. You'll notice this is a common feature place, this idea of planning, so sparring with the AI to build them. So what columns do you want on our Kanban board? I think to do in progress makes sense. What information should each task display? Title only, title description, due date. Let's go for full details because we're nothing if we're not specific, right? What should the AI chatbot help you with? I think create tasks could be cool. Let's do both actually. Let's make it super powerful. And then again, we can pick the theme that we want to. I quite like dark sidebar. I think that's really nice. Let's go for that one there. Cool. And then we've got a couple more, which is it's going to be for myself. I'm just building it for my beautiful self. And then click on submit. Beautiful. So now it's done that. We are now going to be ready to rock and roll, which is why I've now taken him out of plan mode. And now look at this. So let me bring this over so you can have a good look at it. So we've got the enabled cloud, which is built-in backend, storage, auth, and ready to use, which means that we're going to be using Lovable Cloud. That's one of the things that they simplify to make it easy. Add an LLM to our app. Free start, pay as you scale. Sounds cool. Let's just allow and get started with that. Again, building your first app is a really cool experience. You get to see the wonders of what's possible, and it's very, very decent like that. Cool. And they've got some cool stuff that you can edit visually as well, which is really decent. And as well as building, we can see the progress on the left-hand side. So it's building the auth system, Kanban board, AI chatbot, and styling with dark sidebar theme, which is really cool. So you can see the progress on the left. It's enabled relative security, which is code for just making sure, and you're going to see in this video as well, databases and how this all connects together really beautifully. Because when it comes to any full AI system, right, we have the front end, it looks awesome. We've got the back end, does the automations, but then we also need a place to store that data, right? It could be Superbase, could be the cloud, could be several different locations, but it's a really important component of what it means to build these systems in this kind of beautiful AI future that we're heading into. Beautiful. And now we've even got a sign-in bar. I don't know if I asked for a sign-in bar, but we got one anyway, because they're adding the extra value. It's cool. So check this out. Let's log in and sign up. Let's call it like Jack R. Give an email, let's give my real email, and then we can give down a cool password here. Let's give one that we're never going to forget and click on create account. Beautiful. We'll save that. And then we've got a Kanban board. Cool. I'm liking this design on the left. That's actually really tasty. And then let's add a task. So come down and add a task. Why don't we call this one something like dog shelter? Okay. Find the best shelter not buy and give a donation. Okay, cool. So I'm giving some things here to do. I'll pop that. It needs to be done. Category can be personal, due date. Let's be bold and say we're going to do that tomorrow. And I reckon that's going to take like maybe 60 minutes to do. And then we create the task. Cool. So does this appear? It does. And we can drag and drop and put that in progress. Decent. Okay, nice. Well, we probably want to add one more field, which is cool. I like that. And then we've got an AI assistant and then we can ask it questions. So let's just say, hey there, dude, what do I have on my to-do list today? All right, cool. Let's see what he comes back and says. Again, I think what's really cool about this is I've not entered any API keys. It's very easy. Want to do task, you're in a great situation. Could you edit my to-do list? And I just want you to add a dog emoji at the beginning of the to-do list, please. Okay, so let's test out this AI assistant, see how good he is. And I can use him to build things. I can yap at him, do different things. I can certainly help you with that. Since I'm an assistant, I have actions. I'll create a new task for the formatting. All right, cool. So let's go back over to the board and check out what that looks like. Walk the dog, pet cat. So he's created a brand new one, which is awesome. And it's due on that day. Really freaking cool. I like that. And then basically we can pop out and then I can give it some different things. Like, hey, dude, what would be really cool is could you add a third category, which is going to be complete? What would be decent is if I drop let's say the actual action into that section, a bit of confetti would be awesome. And let's step up the design a little bit. Let's get a bit of vibrancy. Let's get a little bit of, I don't know, some color and just like, obviously something looks tactful, but just I want it to be gorgeous when I look at the actual Kanbans themselves. All right, we give it a little bit of something like that, ready to rock and roll. I wanted also like the AI assistant to be able to edit existing ones if I want to. All right, cool. And send that one off. Decent. And we'll just send Lovable off. It comes to work in the background. But you're kind of getting now the idea of what it means to vibe code, that you basically yap at things. It goes ahead and does it. and then we can use it, which is freaking awesome. Cool, so now it's working in the background. The migration status is done. So what it's done now is actually gone ahead and modified the database. So you're going to see now what the incredible place we're at now in 2026 is that you can actually connect these databases to AI. So you don't even need to think about it. It just kind of does it for you, which is crazy. Cool, and then this is loading back up and it should be done in just a moment. It's just going to do a little bit of polishing, a little bit of add a little touch of color and flares and various different things. And just like that, we've now got the completed version, which is follow my instructions. We can click back off and let's take a look at this. So we've got in progress completed. Let's say that we've walked the dog, we've walked Dexter, and we say that's actually completed. And we get the confetti. Bam, that's what I'm talking about. So let's come over to the AI assistant and give him a prompt. Hey there, dude, I have a task for the dog shelter. Could you actually just make that maybe 120 minutes instead of 60 minutes? Okay, cool. So the idea with this is we could like ask it to do very similar things, like build out a to-do list, make different connections, different apps. Like you get the idea of how cool this is. Cool. Let's update the task. Decent. Let's go check it out. Come over here. Dog shelter's now at 2 hours and it's completely done. I can move things over. Easy, super duper, easy peasy. I just yapped. I moved things and then it freaking happened. And so now you built your first app. A huge congratulations. Hopefully you had a lot of fun with that. The next thing I'm going to do now is download AntiGravity and begin the AntiGravity magic. But to do that, I have to show you one really important concept whilst we download AntiGravity and everything that you need to be rocking and rolling and to be set up for the future. So if you haven't already, you can head over to this website, which is antigravity.google.com. And you're going to go ahead and download AntiGravity. Super duper important. One of the things I'd love you to do as well is to go ahead and download the Claude app. If you don't have it on your computer already, it's going to be very, very handy for you. And then the other thing that we need to download is, and there's only third thing, is Node.js. If I say download Node.js. But the good news is AntiGravity can do this for us. And as I'm going to show you in a second, and this is the wonders of it, okay? Now, once you've downloaded AntiGravity, it will look a little bit something like this. So you click on this and you'll see the wonders of AntiGravity. And when you open AntiGravity, it will look a little bit something like this, which is wonderful. So in AntiGravity, you open it as like projects. So think of them, instead of the cloud like we just built, these are things you're editing on your computer now, which is really cool. So what you're going to do here to open up any workspace is File, Open Folder. You're going to create a new folder. And then basically you're in it instantaneously. So if I come down to open folder, I click on new folder, I call this XYZ, I click on create, and then click on open, and all of a sudden I'm in this folder. But the question is, what if we've just built an app online on Lovable or maybe AI Studio, Google's version, and I want to get it into AntiGravity to edit? Well, how do we do that? Well, great question. So glad that you asked, because if I head back over now to our thing here, it's like fundamentally all this is, and you can see this here, is code. That's it. You can see all the code on the left-hand side. And when we talk about websites or apps, we're just talking about code. So what we need to do is take this code and put it somewhere. We need to get that code onto our laptop. So the way that we would physically go ahead and do this, I'm going to close it for a second, as you see this mysterious cat in the top right-hand corner, this is GitHub. So you're going to create a brand new, fresh account in GitHub. You can click on Connect to GitHub. I'm going to do this over here. So let me explain what GitHub is in simple language. If you've never come across it before, it makes perfect sense. So GitHub, if I open this up and just show you, basically, if you think about this, like files, when we publish applications and apps online, we need a place for those files to live, a repository, like an Alexandria's library of all the cool stuff that's happening. So the idea is that when we build apps, what we're going to do in AntiGravity, if we publish it, is store it in GitHub, and GitHub becomes the single source of truth for all of this stuff, which is amazing, which is why we use GitHub, and that's where we get our files. But it also enables us, when we build an apps, we throw it into GitHub, we can access it anywhere. So once you create an account with GitHub and click on Connect GitHub, this will open a new window, and we basically, what we call an OAuth sign in, which is we just open and authorize. It's super easy. We're going to give it access like so. I'm going to click on continue, which is beautiful, and then click on connect. Fantastic. Confirm transfer to step 2-way sync. We're happy with that. Transfer that anyway. And this will work with any online version, whether it's Bolt or AI Studio, like, which is AntiGravity version online. There's a million different ways you can do it. So we set it up as a GitHub repo. We click on view, and almost by magic, does this code look familiar? Well, it certainly should do. So you come over here, you're going to click on this code. Now, the only button that you need to know, now this is set as private. So let me show you one cool thing. You're going to click on settings, just where you manage the settings for your things. And you come all the way down. And what I want you to do, again, just to keep it simple for the time being, is click on change visibility, change to public. All right. What this now means is that if I share the link of this repository that we have, AntiGravity can download it instantaneously. Now, the truth is, AntiGravity can download it even if it's private anyway by connecting it. But I just want to keep it really simple for the time being. And no one's really going to be searching it in like the 2 seconds that we created it anyway. So all we're going to do now is you're going to click on code. You come over here, and I just want you to click on copy and paste. That's it. Then head over to AntiGravity, come into the chat window, and we're going to say, hey there, I want you to clone this repo and then open it up in a local host. And now, what do I mean by local host? Well, just because it's on your computer now, it's your computer that's hosting it. And so you just paste URL in, and then it'll go ahead and do that for you. And one interesting thing I want to call out here, guys, if it has dependencies, like if the online version of the app has built something that this doesn't have, it will go ahead and install those for us. Beautiful. So now it's just loaded there. Let's give this a click and find out what's happening. So open up the local host. And then we have a login section. So let's click on sign up, and we'll give on a random name, random email at outlook.com, and then a random password, and click on create account, for instance. Give it a hot second. And then just like that, we've now got this in local host. So the cool thing is now, because this is an anti-gravity, we can make any changes we want to. So I could say, instead of task flow, why don't we call it, I don't know, change from task flow to Bing flow, and change purple to, I don't know, dark obsidian. Let's see if it can understand what a dark obsidian is. But the idea is it will now go ahead and make those changes for us. And on the left-hand side, guys, you'll see that all the modules that we use in Lovable do appear there for us as well. But I will say that if you are building it in an online app, you want it to use Supabase and configure in Supabase and bring it in versus like native cloud platforms. So you have full configurability. But again, AntiGravity can make any of these changes you want to. You basically speak to it and it'll do that. But essentially what you've done now is built this incredible app online. You brought it into AntiGravity, you've installed it, and now you know how you can make changes to it based on your local computer, which is the foundation of AntiGravity. And we can see now AntiGravity making changes on the left-hand side, and then we can check the updated version. And so just like that, it says it's now running. So let's go check that out. We'll click this up, and would you believe it? Bing flow, and it's completely changed. And that's the premise of how everything works now in AntiGravity. And so the best way to learn anything within AntiGravity is to actually build an app. Now, to do that, we're going to use my 5-step BLAST framework, which I use for building any application, website, software, you name it, in AntiGravity, which is going to take the quality of your builds from this to interstellar. Beautiful. So this is the BLAST master prompt. So let's go through the idea of it. The identity is that you are a system pilot. This is AntiGravity. Your mission is to build deterministic self-healing automation in AntiGravity using the BLAST framework, which is blueprint, link, architect style, and trigger, protocol, and the ant layer architecture. So we start off with protocol 0. I'm going to put a link for this down below so you can grab it and have a rock and roll a good time with it. All you're going to do is literally copy all of this like so. You're going to head over to AntiGravity, and what we're going to do is just basically cleanse a project. So let's create a brand new project together. Click on file, click on, let's go for open folder, click on new folder, and let's call this one Scraper with loads of R's, and click on create. Okay, cool. And then open the folder. So now we're in a brand new environment and scenario. So first thing to bear in mind is that, of course, as always, we can have the conversations with AntiGravity on the right-hand side. Little thing you can do in the middle, by the way, if you've installed this Claude thing, is you can double click, and then you see this Claude thing here. This opens a Claude Code instance, which is really freaking cool. Now, before I paste this prompt in, I want to show you one thing about AntiGravity you'll find helpful. So AntiGravity has 2 views. We have this view that we've come to love and appreciate. Again, if you ever want to move a position of something, you can right click and you see the position. You can basically decide where you want it to be, which is really cool. So cool, it's very decent. Let's come down and just remove this guy for the moment and click off this. So you've got what we call the main view. And then if you click on Agent Manager, you've got this view, which is really cool. So one thing a lot of people don't know in AntiGravity is that every workspace or project that you create basically becomes something here on the left-hand side. And you can start a new conversation on that. And this is where we get to the point where we call parallel agents. So you can have 4, 5, 6 different agents all working on your project at the exact same time. So for example, I've got Dashboard UI here. I can have 2 different agents doing the same thing. So we're in here. So what we're going to do is start a new conversation in, and then you're going to select your thing, or on the top left, come here, start conversation. And we're looking now for Scraper. So we just type in Scraper, and we should find that near the bottom. Cool. So I might just say, hey. All right, cool. So what I could do with this, technically speaking, is I could open up as many of these windows as I want to. So I could say, what day is it? In reality, I might say to one of them, hey, do a review of the design. And another one might be, hey, create me a file that does X, Y, Z. And I can have literally almost like as many of these separate conversations as I'm doing. And so this can go on and on and on, like in ad infinitum, basically. So we can have all multiple agents doing things for us at the same time. If you've got like a second screen, which I recommend when you get into this stuff, you can actually manage all in the inbox. If I click on inbox, when they've all come back with different questions and stuff, I can basically say, tick, 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 that's fine, approve it. So you do everything from just one window. And then whenever you want to come back, all you're ever going to do is that you come over here and click on Open Editor, and that's how you can get between the 2 walls. Awesome. So now you've got that. Now let's build this one together. So I want to show you something really cool. So let's come down, and you can delete conversations down here. Very, very, very different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something cool you can do with an AntiGravity. Occasionally, if this gives you any trouble, it shouldn't do, but if the agent fell for some reason or they're doing an update, you can just chat with Claude inside. So what we can do do is double click in the middle, click the Claude icon here, and then we've got Claude code ready to rock and roll. So what we're going to do now is paste in that entire prompt. So come down here and paste in everything like so, and it will go ahead and get started. So it's going to follow the Blast framework. Now, section 0 on Blast framework, to bring it up, as you can see, is to initialize the project memory. So it's going to create a task plan.md, so for phases, goals, and checklists, a findings.md for research, discoveries, and constraints, what was done, errors, tests, and results, and then initialize, which is the Gemini.md. .md just stands for Markdown, basically, as the kind of project constitution, so like data schemes, behavior rules, architectural invariants, and then execution. So the idea is it's going to create folders for us now on the left-hand side to build all of this stuff out, which is really cool. And then effectively what it's going to do is then wait for us to come up and ask it to do something. Now, I've just pasted the exact same thing in the right window. So let's go ahead and use that one for this project. So it's within the native system within AntiGravity. But just to show you, you can spin the same thing up with Claude by using that window there, which is really cool. So now that's complete. Let's get down here and see what we're going to do. So we've got the 5 discovery questions, North Star, integrations, source of truth, and delivery payload. And then it's got a task list here of things that it needs to do. Cool. So I'm going to say, awesome, please execute protocol 0 once I've given you the below information. So this is the point now where we're going to give it basically a prompt of the thing we want to build. Now, we can build anything we want to, but I thought it'd be cool if we could build something that would, let's say, and again, replace this with anything you want to. In your business, for instance, what we typically want to do is start with the biggest bottleneck. Like, what's the biggest bottleneck in your business? And then actually build processes around that. So let's say, for example, one of the things that you wanted to understand was like viral trends and viral outliers. So oftentimes we can use Reddit to do this. We can use various different resources. So I think we should build a viral trend outlier, and let's get AntiGravity to not only build that, but go ahead and get the research for us. So, and then I'm going to basically explain this to it in plain English. So let's see what the questions are. So the questions are, what is the singular desired outcome in plain English? Awesome. I would like you to build for me a beautiful interactive dashboard. And in that dashboard, what I would like you to do is to present information for me from various different sources. I want you to collect for me and display, let's say, the latest articles from the last 24 hours from a series of sources. For example, Ben's Bytes or the AI Rundown, and maybe also on Reddit. But let's just start with the newsletters as just a brief example. The source of truth, the integrations that you're going to need, I'd like you just to go online and build a scraper for that initially, so no need to do anything else yet. We will ourselves add further integrations as we build this out and add layers of complexity, but we're just going to start off with the basics. The source of truth, I'd like it to exist within the website. We are going to connect a dashboard, but we're going to do that later. That will be to Superbase. Again, I'll touch on that momentarily. So we're basically deciding all the different connection points that we want for the entire thing. After that, the delivery payload should be, I'd like it to essentially run every 24 hours. And if there's new data, new articles, show them. If there isn't, forget about it. I would like the ability to save those articles. And if I refresh, all my saved articles should be there, as well as all the data that you've brought forward, first of all. I'd also like the designs to be gorgeous, interactive, and look beautiful. Awesome. So we're given all information, and then we just literally send off that right there, which is really cool. And then what I'd recommend you do is put it into plan mode, at least for this stage, so it can actually spar with you a little bit. One of the things we learned from the founder of Claude Code, who basically uses this in his sleep, is that having plan mode is really, really important. I found that my experience too, in terms of really getting out the specifics from AntiGravity. So this will go ahead now, plan everything out, create the files from the left-hand side, and then we can start beginning to create any AI application that we like. And whilst it's doing that, let's head back over to Dribbble to get some inspiration for our dashboard. Wouldn't that be really freaking cool? One of the things we can do if we want to, let's say that, okay, you could have, for example, your own brand like this, which is Glido, which is really cool, our speech tech startup. Let's say that I want to build a dashboard out in their style. How do I get it? Well, if you have your own brand, or a brand that you like, you can upload your brand guidelines to AntiGravity. But if you don't have them, one of the things you can do is head over to firecrawl.dev. And again, I'm going to show you different aspects like this in this video as well, where we use this in different ways. But if you come over here to Playground, like so, and what we're going to do is simply enter in the URL, so glido.com. Actually, let me just come back and do one more. Instead of Markdown, let's come down to, I believe we want branding, which is cool. And this will basically scrape all of the information about the brand for us, like the typography, all that sort of stuff. And look at branding's appeared there. And look at this. This is freaking so cool. So what I can do is literally copy this here. I can come back over here. I can create a new folder. Just come down and click on new folder. And we'll call this one Design Guidelines, like so. And then within Design Guidelines, let's open a new file. And we'll call this one Brand Guidelines. Cool. And in Brand Guidelines, we pop it down like that. Awesome. And then why don't we also add in our logo? So we come down here and let's just drag the logo in from our computer. So there you go. I'm dragging this one over here, which is cool. I've got the Glider logo, and I'm just going to bring that into the design guidelines there, which is really cool. Then what we could do is get something that we think is really interesting from a design point of view. So let's go and find one maybe on Dribbble or something. So why don't we go for dashboard, and then we can have a quick look at all the dashboards that we think are really interesting and really decent, and find something that we would like to emulate. And let's have a look. I think this one's really cool, but we kind of want something that's a bit more information-led, right? So we want something where we can see the data coming all the way through. So I think probably something along the lines of, this looks quite cool. We've got some cool visual panels. Yeah, I think that's nice, but it's not really too information dense. Okay, so say you like the look of this one, for example. This is pretty cool, pretty interesting. I like the way the panel's laid out. So let's say we want to copy this one. I'm just showing this as an example, right? But effectively find the design inspiration that you like, and then we should be able just to paste this in. That is cool. And then we just drop in image.png, which is decent. And then we can just rename this to be design inspo, right? So come down and let's rename, and we call this one design inspo. Awesome, cool. Now that's all done. We're going to accept those changes. And then what we're going to say is we're going to an @ and then we're going to @ and this is one thing you can do, your file, right? So if I just design guidelines right there, we can now chat to that. I would like you to build it in the basically ascribed design profile. So I've given you my logo, my brand design guidelines, and then some design inspiration also. And so as you can see now, phase one has been about the following, which is the North Star, so our desired outcomes, the integrations that we want to have within there, the source of truth, the delivery payload, and the behavioral rules. So before you design any project, you really want to think about, well, what integrations do I need? Is it Slack? Is it Telegram? Is it going to be, Appify or Reddit? We can pick those specific ones that we like. And then also the behavioral rules. And then obviously we've given a data first rule, which is you must define the JSON data schema, the research, and we've given that now to AntiGravity, and it's also ready to go. And so now we've completed the first step, which is to outline the thing that we want in plain English. The next thing we need to do is actually connect it. So for example, if you and I are building a house together, right, and we've got the beautiful blueprints, it looks awesome, we're getting our amazing furniture in there, but the house isn't connected to the outside world. It doesn't have plumbing, it doesn't have electricity, we'd probably not really be able to do too much. So the idea here is that we want to connect AntiGravity to all the resources and tools that we need to enable it to actually physically do its job. And that's why the second step in our BLAST framework stands for links. So to do links, first of all, we need to tell it to follow the design guidelines. And whilst it starts to work on that, we can now start to think about how we connect everything to it. So now we've basically explained everything we want to, what we need to do. And you'll notice beautifully now, look at these findings.md, Gemini.md, progress.md, all these wonderful and beautiful things. What we're going to do now is its connections. And this introduces us to the very first, very cool part of AntiGravity, which is called MCP, also standing for Model Context Protocol. So the way I want you to think about Model Context Protocol is, I'll grab this so I can show you. It's basically like a universal remote control. It's a standardized language that lets AntiGravity or any AI app talk to anything else. So for example, you might say that the N8N, right, which is a no-code building platform, has an MCP. Firecrawl, which looks at your meeting notes, has an MCP. And when you connect AntiGravity to these MCPs, effectively they can do anything that you can do through an API very, very simply without it being very complicated. So what we're going to do then is click on these dots over here, guys, and you're going to see, once you do that, you're going to see MCP servers. So a couple of things to bear in mind is we're going to have a full list at the MCP store. So we can say whatever we want to connect to here. Now, what we're going to need to connect to in this video is Supabase. So I'm going to type in Supabase. I'm going to go in very deep into all the MCPs later, but you can see Supabase lets us connect to projects because if you think about it from this point of view, we're going to have a front end, we're going to have a back end, which is going to have automations and systems, but we're going to need a database, right? We're going to need somewhere to store that information. Excel is like the primitive version of it. Supabase is like a Microsoft Excel. It's been hit the gym and crushing it. So we want to connect to Supabase. So this is a dashboard that's worth learning. And when you do that, you can see something that looks like this. So all you're going to do is come down here to configure and you're going to click on Supabase Access Token. So this is a great time to understand exactly what Supabase is and what it looks like. So once you create an account, you're going to see something like this. You can generate a new token. I'm going to call this one something like AntiGravity Scraper. I'll put the expiration date for an hour, maybe for a day. But basically, I'll delete this token afterwards. But you click on generate a token like so. That will load up for us beautifully. And then you're going to copy the token. That's it. And all you're going to do is swing back over to AntiGravity and then paste this into your Supabase access token and then click on save. That will then save to what's called your MCP configuration. Sounds very fancy. But if I click X on this and actually we open it, and basically if it ever lose it, just do Command L and it'll bring it back. Cool. And if you ever lose this thing on the right-hand side, you can just press Command L and get it back. But we click on these dots, you're going to come down here to MCP servers, which is really cool. And now look at this. If I click on Manage MCP servers on the left-hand side, you'll be able to see now all of these beautiful things. So this was looking red because I changed my API key recently. But look, guys, if you come down here to Superbase, you can see it's enabled and you've got access to all these awesome MCP servers. Now, think about it from this point of view. If you come over to Superbase, for example, it looks a little, what is it, Jack? It's like kind of like very code-led. If you think about that, you and I might speak English or French or Japanese or Chinese. Tables speak something called SQL. Now, the great thing about being where we're at right now is that you don't need to know how the complete intricacies. It's worth learning the basics, but basically because we've connected this to AntiGravity now, AntiGravity can create tables for us and do anything we want to. But a couple of housekeeping things that's worth you knowing. So on the left-hand side, you come down here to project settings, okay? And you can access your API keys, loads of really cool things over here, which is decent. One thing I want to draw your attention to though is the bit that you're going to be spending a lot of time is authentication when you build apps, which is cool. So here you can see sign-in providers, OAuth server, lots of cool stuff. But if I click on sign-in providers, now when you create an app using Superbase, one of the things that you can do is basically determine how can they sign in and look at all these different things you've got. Like that's when you go to websites like sign in with Apple, sign in with GitHub. You can do all of that with Superbase. That's how cool it is. One that we're going to turn off right now is confirm email, at least whilst we're building, because basically when we have users creating accounts, we don't want to have to keep going back and forth during the development process. Really cool. Then all your tables live in table editor. As you can see, you get everything here, which is cool. But what we want to click on, and you can see this is the dashboard stats from a different video that I did. You can come down here to database, and in database, you can see everything, which is really cool. But we haven't got anything in there at the moment. So let's go back over to AntiGravity, and we're going to be touching on Superbase later. We just wanted to give it the connection. But once that's done, it's got everything that it needs to rock and roll. And crucially, guys, check this out. And this is one of the really cool features about AntiGravity is that it will show you its checklist. So we can actually, add questions to this. It's the complete discovery questions, research scraping messages for each source. I could come down here and say, awesome, I want these websites, right? So for example, why don't we go over to a random website and let's just say we go down to, Rundown AI or something like that. I think it's this one here. Cool. So we can just give it this random URL. We come back over to AntiGravity and just give it that and add that as a comment. So you can dynamically change its plan. And here we can see it's doing the research newsletter structures and finalizing blueprint, navigating to this website to understand how are the articles stored. And basically AntiGravity will just figure it out for you, which is awesome, especially when you've got basically a system that looks exactly like this. Awesome. So that's now done. Current status update. It's just completed the research on all the newsletter sources, what it's discovered. So it's got an RSS feed. It's figured that out. It's a next.js site. So it's going to be able to scrape and do various different things. Now let me update the task checklist and create the implementation plan for our review, which is really cool. And just going now through everything, taking things off, working for us autonomously in the background. And when you explain things to AntiGravity in the way that I did using this BLAST framework, it just works for you on autopilot. You approve its tasks and it just does everything for you in the background. Beautiful. And now AntiGravity has finished that. Let's go and check it out. So I've opened up a localhost and guys, would you look at this? The viral AI agent takes the internet by storm. It has organized everything in the exact way that I specified it. Look at this, because here's the interesting thing, right? If you actually go over to the AI rundown, for instance, the apps, they're not organized like this. What's really fascinating about this, like if I click on this, for instance, right, is that each of the things that we've pulled out are separate articles, and AntiGravity has gone ahead and just separate this up for us beautifully because it's identified what the title is with the images, and we've got this awesome stuff where we can see now. And I can down and say, find dozens of free iTools, Google Labs. That's interesting. And if I like it, why don't I just come ahead and give it a heart? Beautiful. We'll go ahead. Okay, so we need to quickly update this. So let's just say we need to go back and to AntiGravity. And I'm so glad that's happened because I can then be specific and say, hey there, dude, whenever I heart something in the application, I get this error message. Please just fix it so when I heart it, it is saved to the database and saved as my saved items. I'd also want the ability to delete when I hit the delete button. And when that happens, it should remove it entirely. And we come down and we just paste in the error code and send that straight off to AntiGravity. So now I come back over here after AntiGravity has completed it. So let's see if I can heart things. I like the look of that. It's now saved, which is cool. So I head over to the save section and I should see the lobster magically appeared when I refresh the page, or I can just click this refresh button and there we go. So now it's actually physically gone ahead and fixed it. And I'm really happy now with the functionality. I can pretty much add any ones I want to. I can check all the sources, and we've got a really cool format now for how everything looks. Do you see how consistent it is, guys? Like between bend bytes, and I've just got this really nice, beautiful flow and everything's there. So I'm really happy now with the functionality of our wonderful dashboard. And so now we've completed the functionality and we're very happy happy. The fourth step in our BLAST framework stands for stylization. So we've got a beautiful house. We're connected to the outside world. We've got our connections. But the thing is, it's looking a little bit better. The walls are white, and you and I like a little bit of style. So we want to refine that a little bit. And that's exactly what we need to do in the fourth step. So this section is all about stylization and refining the UI. So we're going to do payload refinement, format all outputs, so Slack box, Notion outputs, email HTML for professional delivery, and then the UI and UX. So if the project includes a dashboard or a front end, we want to apply clean CSS, HTML, and intuitive layouts. And then we want to give feedback on what we think about the design. So let's head over to AntiGravity. Okay, beautiful. So now we're back. Now, here's the thing. In this video, we're going to go so deep into design. I'm going to show you skills. I'm going to show you things that used to be reserved only for professional designers. But what I'm thinking we should do here is open up a little project and just show you, just generally speaking, what this is about. All right, guys, so I'm in it now. Now, this, generally speaking, is the bit, I'm going to get into all the design systems later in the video, but I just wanted to outline the framework for you so you understand, where we take a look at it and just make some judgment calls on what we think about the general design and, what do we like and what do we not like. Well, one of the things I want to show you we can do very quickly in this video is something called UI sniping. So what we can do is head over to a website like 21st.dev, and we can find UI components that we think are pretty cool, and we can just integrate those directly within our website. And again, we're going to go so deep on this, guy. I really hope you're caffeinated for this video or have an orange. So my last video said, I'm going to grab an orange instead of a coffee. I said, there's no place for you in the Jack Roberts YouTube channel with that kind of attitude. So we've got these things on borders, buttons. Effectively, you can look on the left-hand side for anything that you need, maybe images, maybe maps, whatever the thing is for your design that you like. You can also give just general feedback. But the point is, find stuff that you want, like really go into the detail, have a think about it, be creative. And the cool thing is you're not having to design from scratch anymore. Do you know what I mean? You're actually able to take components and interesting things like this and do essentially whatever you want to with it. And so when you found something that you like within basically 21st.dev, whatever it might be, little hack, by the way, is best of the week. It's so freaking cool. And you can see all the stuff. You can even search by the week. Like, look at this liquid gradient, for example. So freaking cool. And what you can do very easily, and I don't want to spoil it for later in the video, but I'm going to show you we go into devs, but you can just come and grab this stuff, right? So let's say, for example, you really like the look of, I don't know, let's say this. Say this is something that you wanted on your website. You thought, hey, this looks really freaking cool. What you do is you copy, you click on share component, you come over to AntiGravity, and all you're going to do is just say, hey, dude, I want you to go ahead and grab this component and integrate it into my website. Okay, you paste it. And then what you can also do is come back over. I recommend you do this also, is click on, where is it now? Copy prompt. Now check this out, guys. I come back, right? And I might just come down here, paste the prompt in, and look at the level of detail. Some say we've never seen detail like this detail before. It's crazy. But just to keep it simple, I might just say, hey, dude, I love the light green. Could you change the color to light blue for me on the website? Just to give you an idea, we're basically coming down and we're just kind of tinkering with it to make sure it kind of fits our sensibilities, and then we're all happy with the design. And as you can see, Cloud Code's going ahead now and doing all this wonderful thing. It's making all the changes. Changing all the colors, which is great, exactly what we like to see. We're just, again, you can flip between Cloud Code and AntiGravity exactly as you prefer. And then when we come back over, guys, you can see we've gone from green to blue, and that's working perfectly. And this leads us very nicely onto the fifth step of our 5-step framework, our BLAST framework, which stands for trigger. Now, this is the point where we basically decide, how do we want this to work? What is going to trigger it? So there's many different ways that this can work. Either, say, for example, it's a Kanban board or a project management tool or a personal assistant. That might just run when we're using it. But alternatively, it could be something that we want to trigger remotely using something called Modal. So, for example, let's say that we want it to scrape every hour. Awesome. Also, excuse me, every day. But maybe our laptop is closed down, right? Or maybe we're just not able to physically do that. How do we make sure that that happens? This is the kind of thing that you need to think about when you get to the trigger section of the actual build. So to do that, what we're going to do now is we are going to publish our very first app online. How freaking cool is that, guys? I think that's really cool indeed. So we need to do that. We're going to basically publish it to GitHub. So let's swing over to GitHub very quickly. Once we're within GitHub, we are going to go ahead and create a new repository. We do this for any project we like. We're going to call this one Scraper with a load of R's. That might not be available. Maybe it is. Don't worry about the description. Come down and then click on create the repo. So this is going to be a place where all of your code lives, which is awesome. Then what we're going to do, you basically grab this Git here, swing back over to AntiGravity. Let's create a brand new window for this. Again, actually, I'll pull up the terminal. And to do that, by the way, all you do is Command and L. And then we're here, basically ready to rock and roll. Hey, dude, I want you to do a once-over check of the code to make sure everything's cool. And then I'd like you to post it to the below repository, please. Okay, simple as that. And then we Control and V, and then wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. AntiGravity is then going to take all this code and put it onto GitHub, which is great. Then when it's on GitHub, we're then going to push it live, and we're going to host it on something called Vercel. You're learning so many cool skills in this video, and we're just going to go deeper and deeper. And so many. Honestly, I'm showing you like the map of all the cool things of how you do it, because when you understand how to build, how to push it to GitHub, how to host it, the world is your oyster. You can build things that you used to need 6-figure development teams. And I remember CTO of my last business, I remember asking a question like, how long will it take to get XYZ dashboard up? And he said, probably 2 to 3 months. Now we're looking at 2 to 3 hours if you're slow. If you're fast and you watch tutorials like the ones on Jack Roberts' YouTube channel, you're doing it significantly faster than that. I mean, I built one, for example, in like 30 minutes that did everything I wanted. That's the level of where we're at right now. It's insane. And what's very cool is that actually this will do any kind of security audit for us. I always recommend that you say, hey, do a full security compliance audit of this before pushing it live, just to make sure everything's secure and set up. But it even does a good job of just testing it itself in terms of credentials and how everything works. All right, and now it is ready to rock and roll. So we're going to head over to GitHub, which I think is over in this direction. So we're going to come back over to Scraper, and we should see some files, and we do. Awesome. Now, we're going to head over to Vercel. Vercel is the website that we're going to host everything on, which is cool. And just to show you the kind of thing that you're able to build with everything you're learning in this video is websites that look like this. The interactive components, how everything, I mean, look at the detail of this, guys. This was all done using AntiGravity, nothing else. Like, it's actually crazy. I mean, like, you even come down, you've got this beautiful thing here you can slide. You even got this come up. I mean, it is game-changingly cool. Like, really, really freaking cool. But anyway, I'm getting carried away myself. You get the idea. So we're going to come back over. Now, all we're going to do is essentially come onto Add New and click on Project. And obviously, it just automatically connects to GitHub, which is cool. And you can use that for everything. You're going to come down and click on Import. Your project will appear automatically. And then click on Deploy on down there at the bottom, like so. So this will be there for a hot second. And essentially, this will then deploy on the internet. And now, the best way to think about this is that GitHub, okay, and Vercel are like a mirror image of each other. So the second that something changes in GitHub, it will automatically reflect into basically Vercel. So if I click on this now, you'll see we have scraper.vercel.app, which means we're now running and rocking and rolling and having a great time. How freaking cool is it? This is a website now. You're live on the internet. You're literally live on the internet with this stuff. It's so freaking cool. Now, but what if you say, Jack, this is cool, but I want to change the domain. I want to change what the domain looks like. Okay, cool. Well, how do we do that? Well, look, we come back over here, click on Add a Domain. This is very cool. And this is the same thing that I did, by the way, with my agency website. Like if you're a business, you want to work with me, you do so by coming over to Scale Your Business. Look at this, scalewithteddy.com. Again, this was built with AntiGravity using the exact systems that I showed you. Like honestly, like, and all the stuff we're going to get into in this video. It's really, really, really freaking awesome. And then on top of that, we can do websites like this, which is Ideas with Jack, which is the newsletter. You come on, you can check things out. Again, all built with AntiGravity. Very, very cool. So the point is, you can change the domains, do whatever you want to. All you do is click on buy, like so. You come down, I'd call this one Jack is a cool guy.com. It is available. Oh my goodness, I might need to buy that immediately. Oh my gosh, that needs to be my website. Jack is a cool guy.com. You click on that, you basically go through the process and then you essentially set it up. Then all you do is reconfigure it. So just to show you an example of this, you see on Scale with Teddy, we're getting 2,000 visitors a week on the website, which is cool. And then again, like everything's managed under domains. I just want to show you like a real example. Like I actually do this stuff. This is what it works. And all you do literally is when you get scalewithteddy.com, you click on the app name that Vercel gave you, you click on edit, and then you just click on redirect to another domain, which means if anyone clicks on this link, they will be redirected to you, like so. There you go, straight to the new website, which is freaking awesome. But now we come back and let's say that we have something that we want to trigger automatically, because if we were building an NA10, right, we would have a trigger now node that say run every 6 hours. But how do you do that with this? Well, we're going to use a particular piece of software for this called Modal, which is really cool. You're going to head over to modal.com. This is so cool. I love this place. On their homepage, they have this cool thing where you press the button and it does loads of crazy things. Like I'll show you when it loads up. You ready? Bam. I could sit here all day doing this. It's definitely productive use of my time. So look, you're going to come over to dashboard. What Modal does is think of it like the code lives in GitHub, but actually what we're going to do with Modal is connect Modal to AntiGravity. And then we're going to say, hey, I want you to go and scrape every 5 minutes. Go and scrape my emails every X minutes, or go and issue this code, or scrape YouTube. I mean, I'm breaking up even thinking about this, but it enables us to run and execute code when our laptop's closed down. It's basically just a container that lets us execute code when we're touching it or not. So I click on dashboard, for example. I think of just having like an employee that runs for you in the background. What we're going to do is, can you see this? Create your first app. This is so freaking cool. And you get free credits with it as well. All you're going to do is you've got this here. So if you haven't got this already, copy this and head straight back over to AntiGravity. And we're going to give it the following. I'm going to say, hey, dude, what I would like you to do now is actually run the scraper every 24 hours. And we're going to use modal for this. So just make sure that you've got it installed first using the below commands. All right, come down, bam. Can you see how much quicker it is using Glider, by the way? I must admit, it's the only tool that I've used that's genuinely saved me like hours a week. And so building it with a team of pros has been amazing, and I've really enjoyed that. And it's so cool. I use it all the time. I literally use it all the time. It's so cool. So if it's installed, it will just say, hey, we've installed it. Awesome. But if it isn't, I'll go ahead and install the dependencies for you. Then this is where it gets cool. We're going to swing back over now to modal. And this is really sick. So we've got this stuff here. Make sure it's all run and rocking and rolling decent. Then what we're going to go ahead and do is wait for AntiGravity to open up. And look at this. It's going to create a token, which means we can authorize it. We didn't press anything. I should have filled my hands during that. But basically, my hands were right here. Nothing happened. API tokens created, which means that it's now connected. Then we're going to be redirected from this page in a couple of seconds. And just like that, let me create a modal app that will run the orchestrator every 24 hours. So think about this. AntiGravity creates a code, and then we have these digital employees that live in this modal land. They just sit there, and we say, hey, you're going to do this every X period of time without me even thinking about it. And it will just execute for you and work. This is how freaking cool this is. Like, it's so easy. Like, I don't have a coding background. I studied law or European International Law at university, so I was going to become a lawyer at some point. And then I did various different things. I never had a coding background. Like, all this stuff I've learned. And if I can learn it, you can learn it. Like, it's that freaking cool and wonderful. And after some configuring, we've now got everything live, which is cool. Code is reviewed and improved. Push to GitHub. Modal automation deployed. What does that mean? Well, let me show you over here. So look, if you go on live apps now, we have it here. It's all ready to rock and roll. How cool is that? And so you can see how your scraper behaves, and you can see exactly when it's doing it. And here's the really cool thing. You can control it in plain English with AntiGravity to do anything. And when it runs, it'll basically progress and give you updates and tell you everything that you need to know. And you can even say, grab that information and throw it into Supabase so you can see it. I mean, think of it like Lego bricks. You're basically building anything you want to. And you can even schedule an immediate run by clicking this, which is run now. And you can see down here at the bottom, it took like 1.92 seconds to get started up. It's now currently running. So if you just want to go ahead and trigger it, you can do. But this is how incredible it is. And it succeeded and all done. And that's literally how simple it is. And it'll just continue to run on our schedule without us even thinking about it, meaning we have these digital employees that just work for us 24/7 in the background. And so now you've learned the full framework of how to build any application, website, AI app within AntiGravity. You are already ahead of 99.99999% of people. Like, genuinely, this is crazy. But before I can show you how incredible and how deep this rabbit hole goes, what I first want to show you is something called AntiGravity Skills, which will take your abilities within AntiGravity from this to interstellar. So the team at AntiGravity and Google have just released AntiGravity Skills, and they have a couple of incredible benefits. First of all, when you create something excellent in AntiGravity, we can now make that super repeatable, which means that we can do it every single time on repeat consistently. On top of that, you're also going to save so much of your context window when using AntiGravity if you use the skills. On top of that, it also becomes super shareable and very scalable, which means the skills that I build and I'm going to show you in this video, I'm going to give you all of them so you can use them straight away. I'll put a link down below, but you can share it with your team, and it just makes all of the environments super scalable. You basically become, if you want to think about it this way, Tony Stark, and the skills are like the Iron Man suit. Now, if we think about it technically, well, skills are reusable packages of knowledge that extend what the agent can do. Each skill contains basically instructions of how to do the thing, best practice what to do, and then optional scripts and resources. And the skills in AntiGravity are different than Claude, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So you can basically create a skill for anything. Onboarding systems, database migrations, competitive intelligence systems, or even design protocols. It's kind of like the Matrix. You know that scene where they plug him in, he's like, I know Kung Fu. That's kind of what skills are going to be like within your AntiGravity environment. Now, when do I use skills, right? When would I actually physically do this? Well, whenever you find yourself repeating a prompt, it's probably a good indication that you want to build a skill. So you never have to repeat yourself. You write the gold standard once, and then you can just call that in perpetuity whenever you want to and improve on it. It's really cool. But what about Claude skills, Jack? Because I've seen a lot about that online these days. Well, Claude, if you think about it, now they are very similar, but there's a key difference. Think about the Claude skills as knowledge, whereas AntiGravity is knowledge, but it's actually more automation. I'll show you what I mean. So Claude Code, in this analogy, is like a world-class chef, okay? And he's got a library of cookbooks. These are its skills, if you will. Now, when you ask Claude Code to do something, what it does is go to this beautiful library and grab that skill. And it reads the book. It reads what the skill says. And then once it's done that, based on the information that it read within the book, Claude Code will then go and do it. So I'm a chef, I'm Claude Code, I've read the book, now I realize I'm going to run a Python script, I'm going to do something random, okay? But you think about it another way. You have yourself here, which is me in a tank top, and we give a command to Claude Code, and Claude Code reads the skill, the book, and then it does the actions itself. Whereas with AntiGravity, given the fact that it's an IDE, effectively when it activates a skill, what can happen here is that the code can actually be part of the skill, right? So essentially what happens there is that it runs the script within the skill. And so each skill in this analogy is like a beautiful pre-made dish, and because it already executes and does everything that we want to. So Claude skills, think about knowledge. AntiGravity, the way as I understand it, I think about it in terms of automation. So Claude must reason, write, and execute, whereas AntiGravity can reason and then execute. And this is based on my understanding from going through AntiGravity's own docs and skills and comparing that with Claude Code. So very interesting. And actually, one interesting thing I want to call out as well is AntiGravity, anytime we launch any changes, they publish on this changelog, but I'll put a link down below so you can check that one out too. Now, to best understand AntiGravity skills, you need to use them. So what I'm going to do is run you through 5 critical skills that you're probably going to use every single week within AntiGravity. I'm going to give you the full access to all the code. I'll put a link down below. Now, the first one we're going to start with here, because remember, these skills are going to make excellence repeatable, which is awesome. In other words, diligence, right? It's going to save in your token count, and it's just going to be overall epic for your environment. So the first skill I want you to create is the ability to create other skills. So here we go. We've got the AntiGravity Skills Creator. This document, by the way, is based on the information from Claude Docs on all the amazing stuff for creating best practice skills, as well as all the specifics for AntiGravity and the unique architecture for the skills there. So what I've done, I've created it. Very, very cool. All you're going to do is literally come down and create all of it like so. And then we're going to go ahead over to AntiGravity like so. And here we are in the environment. So I've created a sample project called Skill Master. Just open up a random folder, and then we're going to give it a prompt. And we're going to give it something like this. I'm going to say, hey there, I would like you to create for me a global skill called Gemini Skill Creator. And the idea of the skill is that you reference it anytime you're creating any other skill. Make the skill available across all projects. I've put all of the text down below for the skill. Awesome. We're going to come down here and we're just going to paste that one in there, which is awesome. So the cool thing about the chat interface, remember, AntiGravity is an agent-first software environment. So everyone tries to specialize on one thing or another. AntiGravity really tries to specialize on, being specific about being agent-first. So we can actually speak to AntiGravity to create the skills. And this is the whole idea of coding with our language, right? That we don't always have to put button clicks. AntiGravity can do that for us instantaneously. But just to give you a bit of an overview of what does make a good skill, because you can go very deep on this, but top level from AntiGravity themselves, you name it, you have a description for what it does. Okay, we essentially talk about when it's used, its review checklist, and then how to provide feedback to it. So you can get some real specifics, but you go so much deeper, and this prompt goes way, way deeper than that. We cover things in it like formatting standards, the skill name. We cover things like writing principle, conciseness. So how do you actually create the skills? What are the best practices? And Claude's done such a good job on breaking down all of this stuff and all the specifics, which is amazing. So as you can see, we come back over now. We're going to accept all the changes. And as you can see, we've now got the agent skills, Gemini skill creator, and we've got everything here, which is freaking amazing. So workflow feedback loops, checklist validations, lots of different stuff. So this is now going to be the skill to create other skills. And effectively, the way that you trigger these skills should be based on natural language. So the idea here is that Gemini will decide when to reach over, or whatever model we use within, right? Could be Gemini, could be Claude, could be anything. But the idea is that it decides when to use the skill. You can also trigger the skill if you want to be 100% sure that it uses it. But in theory, it should just trigger it by its natural language. And if you ever find it isn't doing that, just say, hey, use the XYZ skill. Now, Gemini 3 is the best model on the planet today for creating gorgeous and beautiful designs. They're crushing it. But oftentimes, we can find ourselves copying and pasting the same prompts and messages and design libraries. So we can solve this with our second AntiGravity skill, which is going to be brand design. And we can actually use a framework that goes beyond the brand, which makes it way more consistent. So for example, in the brand design skill, we can actually create a unique architecture. So with this one, we have almost like a directory structure, where effectively what we have over the top here is the skill MD, which is whenever you're doing anything design, you can then decide which of the three almost like sub skills, if you like, you want to activate and leverage. So we can have one for design, which colors, fonts, radii, make it machine readable. We have frameworks and coding rules for like what tech stacks we want to use, and then copywriting guidelines. So this is the bit where we could say, for example, add in, hey, if you're writing in the voice of, Glido, our speech to text startup, you could say, look, we want it to be these colors or write in this tone of voice. So it just knows automatically and dynamically when to invoke that specific skill. So let's copy all of this right here. Let's head back over to AntiGravity and give it the prompt, which is awesome. So I'm going to say, hey, using this skill creator, I would like you to create the below skills based on the text. Okay, cool. There we go. Pop all that information in, bam, send that one off. And then again, let Gemini work in the background and create those skills for us. And then from your purposes, what you then want to do is actually load up all of your brand guidelines and information. So for example, what you do is say, hey, I want you to edit the information and context within those skills based on the below information, and literally just drop it in the chat window. Or if it's a PDF, you can literally drag and drop it on the left-hand side and Gemini can read that. A little hack for you as well, by the way. If I actually come over and grab like the Glido brand guidelines, right? I open this up, you can see it's really cool. It's got loads of stuff in typography, all our text, all this cool stuff, right? What you can do is drag this over into the file, and then actually, when you want to reference it, for example, what you can do is say, hey, I want you to update the information in the brand design guideline skills based on the information within this document, okay? And then what we do is we do @ like so, and then we can tag that document, right? So this is called Glido brand guidelines. I do Glido brand guidelines PDF, boom. So you can describe that in natural text, but this literally grabs the specific root to it and you can just add whatever you want to. And then you throw it in there, which is awesome. Little side note, by the way, if you're looking for inspiration on what do I do this, I talk about this often in different videos, but if you go to vicrawl.dev, you come through to Playground. Again, what you can do is enter in any business website you want to. So the classic example I always use, in fact, let's even do glido.com, right? What you can do with this, come down, markdown, and just come down and select branding. This will then basically let you go ahead and get all the branding information for a particular website to create a mood board and a vibe to know what you like. So if you like the look of Glido, you think, dude, this is a really cool brand, this is a really cool business, you can see our logo, you can see our favicon, you can see our OG image, and you can even see the font that we're using as well as the specific accents. So you could be like, I love this, I want to do something similar, I want to play around with it, and you can do that exactly just like that. And the other thing that I recommend you do as well is actually upload your logos to the skill as a reference file. So when it creates things for you for your website, you create new pages or anything like that, it knows what logos to use and when. So we can test this by saying, hey, I want you to create for me a very simple HTML landing pages, do it in my brand guidelines, and make it just a gorgeous design, very simple, talking about why coffee is the best drink on the planet. Beautiful. We're going to send that one off. I'm going to see how this then actually pulls ahead, uses those skills, and builds something really simple. And as you can see down here already, guys, it's pulling through the skills master, agent skills, brand identity, which is awesome. And then it's creating a bit of a mock-up with Gemini, which is fantastic. And I also just want to call out that this is one of the cool things about AntiGravity and the Gemini model being embedded within the chat, that when you're doing various different things, it can actually generate for us these images, which by itself, PS, is a skill you can make. So if you're building things, you want Gemini to generate images, say for your website with the SEO and stuff, you can say, look, all the images I want you to generate should be in these dimensions and follow this style and follow this reference image, meaning you can build that as a skill. So you actually automate the creation of these incredible images. And now it's completed that. And as you can see, I gave it one prompt. It did it. It checked everything for the brand guideline adherence. Again, it leveraged the skills. So I wouldn't need to keep repeating myself. I can come down, and all I asked it for was to open up in the local host. So we click on localhost 8000, and then if we full screen this, can we see it? Feel my progress. And what's really cool, guys, it's grabbed the logo. It's followed the exact branding thing. And I even show you now, just as a little, for instance, I come over to Glido itself. Does this branding look familiar? Does it look like a fast speech to text thing? It damn right it does. But you can tell, but it's just automatically. And even when I'm highlighting it, it's gone light green now, which is freaking insane. Obviously, it's just now ready to rock and roll. I think this is absolutely crazy. It just saves so much time so you can get that consistent result. And here's the key thing about the skills in AntiGravity is that if the result isn't perfect, that is so cool. Just go back and amend it and refine it. But once you get that max level standard, it should never fall below that. Now, as you know from my last video, looking at what the creator of Claude Code, I mean, Claude Code does $1 billion a year in annually recurring revenue. So the creator's got some interesting things to say. One of those interesting things, and I've been talking about this a lot, is the importance of the planning stage. Ask stupid questions, get stupid answers. In the same way, we can actually improve the quality of our outputs by asking way better questions. And we can do that by leveraging, again, a skill for brainstorming and a skill for planning. So there's this amazing amazing repo here, which is fantastic. And again, this is the beauty of skills, is that we can all learn from each other and get better as a community, which I freaking love. So you can see here, we've got some stuff here for brainstorming, which is a great way of doing it. You can see this brainstorming skill, which is skill.md, and it's got lots of stuff. So this is about how do you actually create and brainstorm better ideas. And then there's going to be a skill for planning, which is phenomenal. So what I'm going to do here actually is I'm going to come over to the main page real quick, which is going to be over here on the code. And then we're going to copy the whole thing on code like so. And I'm going to copy this and head straight over to our beautiful anti-gravity. And then I'm going to say, hey, using our skill creator MD, I want you to grab this GitHub repository and create me 2 skills, one for planning and one for brainstorming. Awesome. Okay, come down and I'm just going to give it to Git and let it do all the work of actually just grabbing it for me. And just like that, it's now completed it. It's done a brainstorming skill and also a planning skill. So I might say something like, hey dude, I want to brainstorm some ideas of how I could grow my e-commerce business. Okay, something random, we send this one off, and then we can activate and see how it leverages the skill. And just like that, you can see it's analyzed skill.md, which is awesome. I also want to show you as well, on the left-hand side, you can come down to skills. We can see this now under planning, and skill.md under planning, and it's given everything we want there. So you can see, it's got some interesting features here. It's an overview, write a comprehensive implementation plan. Each step is blah, 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 and it's got all this great stuff from the GitHub there. And the model itself is now asking clarificatory questions to help us get that and pretty much crush it, meaning that you're going to have a consistent, robust framework for planning and doing anything we need to with an anti-gravity. Imagine you built your dream workflow and you're pushing the envelope. You're doing something very different. Invariably, at times, you're going to run into what is known as a bug, or it's just not working properly. And when that happens, we need to troubleshoot it. But the amazing news is that we can actually leverage a skill, which is basically been created on all the best practices, the common things that go wrong, which means that anti-gravity can leverage the skill to fix the error way faster. And to do that, we're going to leverage this beautiful skill here from this repo, which explains all the specifics, which is amazing. Master error handling patterns across languages, including exceptions, result types, error propagation, graceful. So what we can do is literally come down and we're going to copy this entire repo and we're going to share that with an anti-gravity skill. And this is one of the awesome things I love about the community of building, is that you get to do these things, find all the cool stuff, and basically like leverage all these cool things that we do together. So if I come over then to anti-gravity, I'm going to say, awesome, I would now like you to forget what we're just talking about, and I want you to create for me a troubleshooting skill, which we'll use to basically troubleshoot any application to make sure that it gets fixed. Fantastic. And then we're going to throw all that code in there, which is awesome, and send that one off. Again, you could just give it the GitHub repo if you prefer, but alternatively, you can just post it and craft these skills yourself dynamically whilst you're talking to anti-gravity. And again, the key here is that anything that you would be asking of these models or within anti-gravity, if you find yourself asking it a few times, ask yourself, should I just take 2 minutes to write like the best thing I can to get the highest level possible? And then I can just use this whenever I need to in any of the applications that I'm building. And that takes us very nicely onto our 5th skill, which is a really interesting one because it's the idea of running scripts within the actual anti-gravity skill itself. So for this one, we're actually going to create some code that does something interesting, like scrape a subreddit for something. And then once that skill's created, we'll be able to just say, hey, scrape this subreddit. It will reach over, execute the exact code within the anti-gravity skill and work perfectly for us. So to do this, let's create a skill. Hey dude, what I would like you to do is to create for me a scraper that would scrape the top 3 posts of any subreddit I choose. I want you to create it, validate that it works, and let's do it with the N8N subreddit as a for instance. So I've sent this one off, and the reason why this skill here is actually one of the most interesting and most powerful is because when we validate and prove that you can actually create executable code as a skill, we can know and bank on the fact that we can lean over, leverage that, and use that whenever we want to. Now, I like to build these ones in 2 steps. The idea I've got here is validate the actual execution performance of it. Then we're going to codify it into a skill using our skill creator, and then we can reach over and use it for pretty much anything that we want to. So what previously used to have to be a dashboard or a project can actually now just very easily be a skill. And again, once again, we're using MCPs here. Now think about this. The skills themselves are code, instructions, knowledge, practice. MCP really is about data exchange and data gathering. So they all work together. Saying don't use MCP, use skills is like saying something like don't eat food, drink water. Like they're completely different things. Like they're just absolutely different things used for completely different contexts. And for our purposes, it's very cool because we can do some epic stuff way faster. Beautiful. So within one shot, it has done it. It's actually interestingly used the old Reddit to do it reliably without the need for any APIs, which is really cool. So what I'm now going to ask it to do is to codify this into a skill. Awesome. I'd like you to turn this into a Reddit scraping skill for me in line with how I explain you need to be building skills in the Skill Creator MD. Beautiful. Once again, I don't need to specify Skill Creator MD. I think that kind of want for it to never go wrong makes us do it. But in reality, Gemini should know this. And the reason why this saves us so much in terms of token usage is that if all this stuff just existed as, let's say, for example, folders on the left-hand side, which is a way that probably most people are doing it right now because this thing came out like this week, it'd be burning through your tokens. And not everybody is on the Super Max Ultra Mega plan. And the thing about that is like your token usage becomes a key thing. So what Gemini is going to be doing here is looking into the skill, looking through the description and saying, hey, the Reddit generator skill might be relevant for the thing we're doing. Let's actually go ahead and use it. So it's cool. So now it's literally developing this for us. We're just going to go ahead and accept this, which is cool. And man, I must admit, I've had a pretty beautiful, interesting week. We're planning out all the meetups for the community. So we're doing South Africa in 2 weeks. Then we're doing a meetup in London in March, and then one in Japan in April. So we'd love to come see you, grab a coffee, say hello, shake your hand. We always have great times. One of the things we do a lot in the community is in-person meetups. I freaking love it. It's so good to see people in person. So we're going to bug that. Last time we did, I think it was like mini golf. It was very cool. It got very competitive very quickly. We rented out this place in London. It was so cool. So there's now Pip and popping it in the background, completing everything for us. We're just going to accept all to make sure this is all completed. And then we can actually test it by creating a brand new chat window and then just asking it to scrape a random subreddit to get a couple of posts. And I like to do that by testing it in a new window so there's no context. It is a fresh, brand new conversation. Now, guys, check this out. Can you see now, within the Scraping Reddit folder, we've got resources, right? We've got scripts. So the Python script is within this. So we're not saying, hey, use, it's like literally within that, right? So let's come over and create a brand new chat window, which I believe they might have changed where you do this, actually. I think it is starting a conversation. Cool. So let's get rid of this. And let's give it a prompt like, hey, can you just scrape for me the top 3 posts within the Singularity subreddit within the last 7 days? Awesome. Bam, send that one off. And then we can see if it actually goes ahead and uses, well, I know it will use our actual beautiful skill, but I've not told it to do that. It will just then actually have to decide whether it wants to use the skill or not. So let's have a look. It's analyzing whether the scripting is done there, analyzing skills.md, which is cool. So let's check it out. And it has decided to use the scraping Reddit thing. And again, it's got the description. Scrapes the top or hot posts from specified subreddits. And look, it's even now using the scraper that's in the Python script there, which is awesome. This is freaking crazy, guys. So it's examining it. It's adjusting Reddit scraper. It's now running in the background. It's got all this information. This is crazy. And you can see now, say, for example, I'm looking at my YouTube channel. I might say, hey, just like remind me what were the top posts that I've had so far this week. I create a scraper for it and it's done. And look at this, we've got the answers. Driverless van in China are facing all sorts of challenges. Atlas ends the year with a backflip. Atlas has its own moves. How freaking crazy is this? So it's just gonna sit there for us now on autopilot. I can pull that skill whenever I want to. And this is just one example, but it's spun up in like 20 seconds. It's ridiculous.
And so now you've understood exactly how to leverage skills. The next thing that we need to do then is build out the toolkit you're going to use with an anti-gravity. Because bear this in mind, that the strength and power of anti-gravity in many respects is all determined by the number of skills and connections it has. And I'm going to show you some stuff that is going to make it so unbelievably easy to build anything you want. It's going to genuinely surprise you. Now, beautiful, before I show you the very first MCP you should 100% have, I want to do what I call some MCP housekeeping. So MCP, as you know, stands for Model Context Protocol. It is the universal remote control. I've lost my remote for the analogy, but you get the idea. The idea is this. If something has an MCP and we give it to anti-gravity, it can do anything within that app. Now, we have something called super connectors that are going to blow your mind. The first port and call we always do with anti-gravity is we come to these dots at the top and we click on MCP servers. This is a library of existing ones. At the moment, there isn't that many of them, but you can connect to anything. The classic example of the one that you're going to use a lot of time, and there's a lot of different things like they've got Stripe now, which is awesome. So we can connect to Stripe. That's probably helpful if we want to monetize and do various different things. But you get the idea. So first thing we do is check in the MCP source. So we'll go for, does it exist here? Superbase does. Awesome. We come down, as we did last time, we click on configure, we click on boom. This opens up into a new window. We generate an access token. So you may call this one ABC, expires in 30 days, and we'll put it down for 1 hour. Click on generate token. We grab the token, and then we just simply input that back into anti-gravity. We come back here, Superbase access token, bam. So step one is we always check to see, is it there? But if it isn't, what do we do? Well, here's the cool thing. You have something called your MCP config or your MCP configuration. And if you click on view raw config, you have all this information in files. So essentially what we can do is grab the MCP for anything and throw it in here. And what's really cool is we can actually ask AntiGravity to do that for us. How crazy is that? Let me give you some game real quick. What I want you to do is head over to this website, mcpmarket.com/server. This is crazy. This shows you the most popular MCPs on the planet, which means that you can come through this and think, I would quite like superpowers. I'd quite like Playwright. What does Playwright do? Playwright gives you the ability to open up a browser and edit it. Now that's native with AntiGravity, but you get how cool this is. Superpowers, Context 7, fetches up-to-date documentation and code examples for LLMs and AI code editors. We click on it, we've got key features, we've got use cases, everything. It's so cool. We've even got a README. It explains everything of how you add it in. It is freaking wonderful. And crucially, you even get this in here as well. So you can just copy this in, throw that in as your MCP server and kick butt. So first thing I'd recommend you do is have a look through this, play around with it, try and find all the different bits and pieces that you like to decide what it is that you want. Now, what are we going to use? We're going to use Zapier. Why? I'm going to show you exactly why. Now, Zapier is like go-to to this stuff. Now, Zapier is actually what I used initially to build my first business. I freaking love this platform. But the reason why we're going to be using Zapier here is because it is connected to when you compare it to N8N and Make, no app has more connections than Zapier, which is one of the reasons why we're going to be using today, because they are freaking crazy at connectors. And you're going to see exactly why. So website is very, very cool, very decent. Let's get into the meat and let me show you exactly why we're going to use Zapier. Because when we connect AntiGravity to Zapier, we actually get the ability to connect to all of our tools within Zapier. And when I say that it's easy to set up, like, okay, I'm just going to show you because it's crazy. So what we're going to do is head over to Zapier.com, create an account if you don't have one already, and let's go and log in. Okay, now when you're logged in, you're going to see something that looks a little bit something like this. So you can create workflows, chat to it, that kind of thing. But for today's purposes, what I'm really curious to look at is Zapier MCPs. And you can reach Zapier MCPs by going to mcp.zapier.com/MCP/servers. Now check this out. Let me delete this because we're going to go together from scratch on this, right? This is actually wild. So click on new MCP server, like so, and you get to decide what it's connecting to. Now, what I'm going to do here is click on other, which is fine. So click on other and you're going to see some information. Now, what we do first of all, very simply, is pick the tools. Over 8,000 apps. I said 6,000. I drastically underestimated it. I click on add new tool. Now, what I want to do here is use Zapier to connect to Gmail and Google Calendar and all my stuff. So I can basically say to AntiGravity, hey dude, what was that email I had 2 days ago about Jose? And it can go and grab that for me. So let's just do, to basically scroll through and you can literally look at all the apps that you want to connect. So think of this as Willy Wonka's Emporium of incredible apps. And honestly, the cool thing is with Zapier, you don't need to create a workflow for the MCP. You just select the tools. That's how crazy this is. So come down and click on Gmail, really cool. And I'm going to click on all this stuff here that I want. Yes, label's cool. Create draft reply, create label, bam, bam, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Happy with that sort of stuff. You can even go into the advanced section if you want to and pick out specifics, but we don't need to worry about that just right now. So let's come down and select all of them. There we go. We can just always, this is actually really cool. Okay, so I've selected all of the information down here. And again, just do this for all the apps that you want to connect. Then click on connect. So say, for example, you've gone through this process, you want Google Drive. If you're doing Google, I like Google Drive, I like Gmail, and I like Calendar. With those 3 things, I can manipulate files, I can check my availability and build like super agents. Really cool. So we're happy with that. Basically, just pick as many apps as you want. Then I'm going to click on connect. Now, this is where the kind of magic happens in. Now, we're going to generate a token. So come down here and click on generate token. Click on generate token right here. And what you're going to do, because you won't see its credentials again, is copy this, which is connect to. So we're going to head back over now to AntiGravity and give it the following prompt, okay? Now check this out. Come over back to agent. Hey there, dude. I would like you to add Zapier MCP to my MCP configuration. Below is information that you need to do that. Okay, Control V, which is the initial thing, and we come back over and you can copy the token or you can just copy the full URL, which is the what to connect to and actually the token. So let's swing it back over to AntiGravity and give it that information. Just simply replace this with that full information. Like guys, the Zapier MCP is now configured and ready to use. You may need to restart your MCP client. So what we're going to do is click on this refresh button. And if this has worked properly, we will see Zapier appear now on the left-hand side. And just like that, we actually have it fully set up. And I'll put the Zapier MCP configuration down below in the description for you so you can copy and paste it. So you don't have to like speak to it. But look at this, guys. We've got add tools, edit tools, Gmail attachment by file name, all this kind of stuff. The best way to test this is in a new conversation. But what we're going to do is reset it. So let's come down here. We don't need to save anything. I'm just going to save the MCP configs, for example. We're going to click on X and restart AntiGravity in a different environment. So here we are. Let's put it to the test and ask it a question about my last email. Hey, dude, could you use the Zapier MCP and just tell me what was the subject line on the last email I received? bam, send it off. Now, this is amazing because we can now ask it questions about our emails, about anything we physically want to. So we're going to send that one off right now. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Zapier MCP. And look at this. Zapier, Gmail, find email. This is crazy. Now you look, instructions, find my most recent email in my inbox. Output hint, just a subject line, query is in the inbox. And just like that, someone sent me an email about a paid partnership, and that is literally fully connected now. And that's just not where it stops, because if you come back over into configuration, we can just keep adding tools here. And so, like, it's insane. You don't need to build scenarios. You just add the tools, and Zapier becomes the super connector for anything you want to. Airtable, Slack, like, you just add the things that you want into Zapier, connect that to AntiGravity, and then effectively we can do whatever we want to. That's how freaking incredible this thing is. So, for example, one of the things we could do is add in Fireflies. Like so. I click on Fireflies, very cool. And let's say I want to add in all these different things here, very decent. I can click on Connect. I'm going to go through the whole process. I click on Connect. So this now wants us to grab the link and the email, which is fine. Just go grab that information. And then we open up the page and you can see we just go ahead now and get the API key, come down here and simply copy, come back over here, throw it in the field. And then once you've added in your email address, you're done. And we just add the 4 tools. Now it's just gotten even more powerful. How crazy is that? So as you can see, it's all completely connected. And let's say we want to add a different skill like Pinecone to give it long-term memory. So we need to grab the MCP service. Let's come over to our website again and type in Pinecone like so. So we can get the exact config. It's going to save us a nice step. And there we go. Pinecone developer. That's what we want. So we're going to click on this guy here. So it enables AI coding assistants to interact with Pinecone projects. Sweet. So what we want to do is on the README, and all I'm going to do is literally copy this whole page, come back over to AntiGravity and say something like, hey there, dude, I would like you to add Pinecone to my MCP config, please. Here's the documentation and I'll post my token at the bottom. All right, come down, documentation. I'm going to say my token is, and then we head back over, and then we're going to head over to Pinecone itself. Pinecone, if you're not familiar, is all about long-term memory. So it's just take enormous data, enormous files, and store it in the way that we can retrieve it, just the bits that we need, basically. So let's go ahead and sign into Pinecone. It is freaking amazing. Also, AntiGravity will vectorize anything for you. And so now we're over here, going to come left-hand side to API keys, and then we come up here to add API key, and then we're just going to give this a name like tester, and come down and click on create, and then you'll see the API key generated. You copy this, close this, come back over to AntiGravity, and then just simply throw it in right there. And just like that, almost by magic, it's done. Except for it isn't magic. It's working some cool stuff in the background. Now, how do we know it's working? Well, we click on MCP servers, we click on manage MCP servers, we load it up, and we should see something pop up. So if I click on refresh, for example, what we should see appear on the left-hand side now will be our great and awesome Pinecone once that's finished loading. And just while that's loading up, if I come back over to Pinecone, these are really cool things. So I can vectorize anything, add anything I want to. I come through to my database. We can ask it questions about anything. Little tip, when you set this up, you want multilingual E5 large, really important. This is the best one. So I've got some information down here from PDF. Let's have a look. Hope to meet you and your company soon at Astra. Awesome. So I think I basically took all of the fields from Alex Hormozi's How to Make Offers So Good People Feel Stupid Saying No. So that's the book that I ingested. Alex's $100 million offers. So let's come back over and we should see this loading up right now. And then when we come back over, Pinecone will be visible. Little tip, by the way, if you ask AntiGravity to do it and it's misbehaving, sometimes it stores it in a different MCP config. Very quick workaround for that. Click on View Raw Config, Control-A, Control-C, and say, hey, I would like you to add the below MCP config to my MCP config. Okay, I'm going to say new config and then type in blah, 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 and then say existing config and then Control and V, basically everything like this, and then say paste the full config back to me. Okay, then you come over to this, you Control A, you delete everything, then you just hit Control V, then you click on File, click on Save, and you're ready to go. So let's give it a little test. So I've said, hey there, dude, could you use my Pinecone account to check what were the main principles of Alex Hormozi's book? And we send that one off right there, right? So let's see what it does now. So we know that it's working if it uses Pinecone MCP. Now, what's really cool with this is you can index anything in Pinecone and do anything you want to. It's now checking the list of indexes, and it will come back and actually check that for data. So we can throw huge PDFs and documents and do whatever we want to with this, which is amazing. We can add multiple indexes, which is crazy. And think about this. Any app you're building, we can basically now connect Pinecone as long-term memory so you can see the potential and the configurability of this. It's genuinely crazy. And guys, look at that. Just as I'm saying, it's all coming down like the Grand Slam offer concept, the value equation, business strategy, scarcity and urgency, all the stuff that we uploaded to Pinecone. It is crazy. We can also upload any file we want to. For example, let's ask this question. Hey, dude, create me a document on the left-hand side called jack.md, and I want you to write me 5 sentences about why coffee is the best drink on the planet, and let's upload it to both of those indexes. We call this vectorization. Vectorization is very cool, sounds very fancy, but it basically just means taking any document or text, and to vectorize it means we turn it into a long string of numbers. That's what we're really doing. The way that I like to think about this kind of vectorization and RAG, which is just long-term retrieval augmented generation, it's long-term memory, is imagine we had every Harry Potter book, right? These models have a context window. We spoke earlier in this masterclass about context rot. And it's like every time you ask it a question, it takes the existing memory of the entire conversation and runs it through. And eventually it just starts to forget things. AI can sometimes be confidently incorrect. That's the problem, right? So here's the interesting thing. That's why we need RAG, because it's added it to our indexes. So let's validate that that is true. I'm now in here. Let's refresh the page and we should see something pop up now about Jack and his beautiful coffee. So let's come down and like that. Jack Coffee. Coffee is the ultimate elixir that transforms groggy mornings into what? Okay, so let's take this as a for instance. Let's come back over now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete this. We don't need this anymore. Let's completely delete it. Yep, 100%. Let's open up a brand new window and then let's ask it a question. Hey there, dude, could you complete the below sentence based on your long-term memory with Pinecone? Bam, and put ... And you'll know that it's actually searched that based on its index calls. So check this out. Pinecone list indexes, checking everything out. This is so freaking cool, guys. Honestly, this is absolutely wild. Yep, it's got a coffee index and Pinecone. You might have guessed. I don't mind my coffee. I love my coffee. Wonderful. It's doing it. I can see the namespace. It's doing lots of different tools. So it's almost like, you have like every Harry Potter book. So instead of checking all the context, we just chop it up into millions of little mini chunks and then we only grab the thing we need. So look at this. Coffee is the ultimate elixir that transforms groggy mornings into productive powerhouses. I wouldn't have said that about the groggy mornings. We have wonderful mornings over here, but you can see now it's literally done productive powerhouses, delivering both energy and focus. Come back over here, delivering both energy and focus. It is literally crazy. And that's now at your fingertips and can be added to any application. And if there's anything you want to add, you just follow the exact same process that I just showed you. So now you understand how to connect any MCP. What about a service that doesn't have an MCP? One of the most powerful tools on our planet today. Anyone who's super productive is using couldn't be connected to AntiGravity. But then again, what if it could? Well, I'm going to show you exactly now how you can connect basically AntiGravity to NotebookLM to create the most unbelievable powerful combination. Let's jump straight in.
NotebookLM can research anything. It can turn content and research into audio. You can learn anything. It essentially is like an unlimited knowledge base. And obviously, as it's no surprise, NotebookLM is exploding right now. So Microsoft Word is for documents, Excel is for spreadsheets, and AntiGravity is for building software. It's the best way to understand what this thing does. Now, what happens when we combine Google's AntiGravity with Google's NotebookLM? Well, it turns out quite a lot, actually. So this is the way I want you to think about this. NotebookLM is like the reader, okay? It understands, it reads, it holds massive context. You're talking 40, 50 different documents, resources, YouTube videos, everything. And it also thinks. And then you've got AntiGravity, which in this relationship is like the builder. So it builds software. It builds systems. It connects things. It can connect to anything. Like, it's really crazy. And it also is kind of like your command center, if you will. Now, here's the problem is that if you're using massive files in AntiGravity, maybe for your own personal operating system or you're building things, it costs tokens every time the AI has to read those files. And that can lead to bad performance and actually cost you money because you burn through your usage and you need to spend a lot more. But when you connect these two things together, AntiGravity and NotebookLM, we not only solve this problem, we actually unlock incredible capabilities. And I'm not exaggerating because you can create unlimited notebooks programmatically within AntiGravity. You can use that knowledge for projects that you're working on. You can ask any question about any notebook that you have in one chat. You can create infographics, slide decks, reports, even do deep research and create audio overviews and a lot more, all from AntiGravity. And you can do this all at scale. And AntiGravity itself now benefits from this kind of within the realms of a NotebookLM, this infinite context, unlimited deep research agents that happen outside of AntiGravity, which is going to save you money and increase your performance. And also, I should say that you can upload these documents to AntiGravity and actually add those to your own notebooks within NotebookLM. Now, I'm going to show you the incredible capabilities across 5 levels of difficulty, with each new skill being even better than the last one. But none of this will mean anything to you unless you understand the ABCs of NotebookLM. I'll put timestamps down below, so feel free to skip this bit if you've seen it before, but this context is going to make you a power user of NotebookLM and give you amazing context for this video. So NotebookLM is Google's main software to understand any kind of resource. It is very cool. You access it at notebooklm.google.com. I'll put a link down below. And the way it works is you can, as you probably know, create notebooks, which is awesome. So one of the things that we can do do is drop in any resources that we want to. It could be articles, could be YouTube, could even be from your own Google Drive or copied text. So for example, if I was on Jack Roberts' YouTube channel and I wanted to learn about anti-gravity skills, I could copy that link, head over to NotebookLM, drop it in there, really easy, and then I literally just hit enter, which is cool, and it adds that now as a resource for me. But one cool thing you can do in NotebookLM is do fast research. So I could say, hey, teach me about anti-gravity skills. And what NotebookLM will do is actually go on the internet and compile like a list of 30, 40 plus different resources on that topic. And then effectively what you can do is chat with it. So, hey, could you give me a brief TLDR of anti-gravity skills? So essentially, anytime that you want to learn anything, all you do is add the resources in or get NotebookLM to do that research, and you can have a beautiful conversation with it in the window. But it doesn't just stop there. You can export this as an audio overview, a video overview, mind maps, reports, flashcards, quiz, infographics, slide decks, and even tables with data. With the NotebookLM, you can actually customize the way that it speaks to you by clicking on these toggles here, and you can say, hey, do you want a conversational goal, style, or role? You can click custom and then give it these examples there, which is awesome. And then with the NotebookLM, if I just want to have a conversation, say with a couple of things, I can untoggle those resources and then just have a conversation with anti-gravity. But the TLDR of it is that it makes learning and creating resources a million times easier. And not only that, you can actually chat with your own notebooks within Gemini itself. But the TLDR of the platform is that you can ingest PDFs, documents, files, research, anything from your drive, any research, put it all together in one really big database and ask it any questions, and then turn that into any number of resources to learn, presentations, you literally name it. So the first level of our 5-level system here is to actually be able to create these notebooks from within anti-gravity. And one of the reasons why you may want to do that is because you can connect anti-gravity to any project you're working on, and you can spin up an infinite number of them. So we could say to anti-gravity, hey, I want to learn about creating blue bottles. What would be the 10 topics I need to know? And then we can get anti-gravity to create for 10 expert notebooks on NotebookLM that we can then query and have conversations and bring into any project that we do. But before we do that, the first thing we have to do is actually install it and connect it to anti-gravity. And the way we're going to do that is by using something called MCP. So if you haven't already, go ahead and download anti-gravity, and welcome to the future. Now, when you open up anti-gravity, it will look a little bit something like this. Now, I've created a random notebook here. You can do that by file at the top, click on open folder, and then you just create a brand new folder and it'll open up that. And that's going to be our workspace. But what we need to do is basically connect it via MCP. So MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and all it lets you do is connect anti-gravity or any app to any other app. I always use the analogy of universal remote control because it's really awesome. So if I connect it to Notion, for example, which you can access by these dots here, MCP servers, I can type in Notion, I can connect to Notion, I can create articles in Notion, I can do anything. So it lets the intelligence within anti-gravity connect to anything. So the question is, well, how do we connect to NotebookLM? Because as you'll notice, there's nothing in the NotebookLM store. So how on earth do we actually physically do that? Well, what we're going to do is give it a beautiful prompt. So to do that, I'm going to shoot over to my school community and grab this link. I'm going to put this link down below for you as well, just so that you can just copy and paste this and get it done, and you don't need to worry about the faffage or all that kind of stuff. So we're in Notion. All you're going to do is come down and copy this. So what this is all coming from is a GitHub repo, which is awesome. So let's come back over here, come back to the agent, and then we're going to paste this in. Now, obviously, within this, you have many different models. You can choose Claude Sonnet or Gemini or whatever you like, which is really freaking cool. And the really decent thing is when we're connecting to NotebookLM, by the way, is that NotebookLM is powered by Gemini 3. Like, it's one of its really super powerful model. So we get lots of cool stuff. So I'm going to help you install and set up the NotebookLM MCP server. Let me start by checking your system, and then it starts to run and do many different things. Now, if you don't have this installed, it will install that for you. So if it starts asking to install things, it'll just do that for you instantaneously. If it's consistently asking for permission, I always recommend that you keep that on initially. But one of the things you can do is click on anti-gravity at the top. Yeah, we're happy with that. Anti-gravity settings, and then under here, you can actually determine the frequency at which you want it to permit and do things. So when you're comfortable with its review policy, you can do always proceed or ask your questions for your agent, for your browser, and for everything. So let's come back off these anti-gravity settings and come back over. Awesome. So it's found the MCP current config file. Let me check its current content. So we're going to allow it for this conversation and then just let it install. You'll notice now that it's been installed successfully, but we need to update our MCP configuration. What does that mean? So when you click on Manage MCP Servers, you can see a list of all the MCP servers that we've got here, right? And you can see NotebookLM MCPs there, but we need to connect it, which is awesome. So as you can see, it's actually opened up a brand new new browser. Now, the reason why it's doing this is because I basically asked it up to sign in and authorize. So the way we're connecting to MCP is via the browser credentials. So what this is going to do is open up a brand new window, get us to sign into NotebookLM, and then that will enable us to connect. And as you can see, it's now opened up NotebookLM in the browser, which is great. And the little blue hue, by the way, is what AntiGravity does when it opens up a browser to check various different things. And so the only thing we need to do now with AntiGravity is go over to this website, actually log in, which is going to be awesome. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Beautiful. And after signing in, it's now complete. And you can see this in our managed MCP servers. And look at this, guys. I've got everything here. If you don't see it, just hit refresh and then it will repopulate, because what's happened here is AntiGravity has added it to what we call our raw config, which is where all the data sits that describes what we're connected to, which is freaking awesome. And we have access to all this stuff. Now, what it's done is grab the tokens basically from the web browser, and now it's connected to our own NotebookLM. Now, the first thing I want to do really is leverage the capabilities we've got. So in level 1, what we're going to do is open up a brand new chat. And what we're going to do is, first of all, and I encourage everyone to do this, is if whatever the bottleneck is in your business or the thing you're working on, is describe to AntiGravity what that thing is, and let's ask for 5 topics of areas by the following. So check this out. Hey there, dude. I am trying to learn how to grow on YouTube. If I wanted to learn to grow on YouTube, what would be the 5 areas of knowledge that I would really have to nail down to make sure that I succeed? Give me maybe like 3 or 4 that are specific and 1 or 2 that are hyper specialized. And all I want is 5 topics, a topic and a little bit of an explanation about that. Awesome. So what I'm doing now is chatting with AntiGravity to get 5 different topics. Again, I could have asked for 50 topics. It doesn't really matter. So content and strategy, audience psychology, packaging, thumbnails and titles. I agree that's like really important. Retention, it's really important. YouTube algorithm SEO, blah, blah, blah. So in the old world, I would have had to go onto YouTube and said, right, YouTube SEO, copy a video, come over here. I have to do all this stuff. But what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to get this now to create for us 5 different workbooks and research within NotebookLM. Awesome, dude. I want you to use my NotebookLM MCP. And what I would like you to do is to create me 5 different notebooks on that. And I want to use the deep research function on each of those 5 topics. So I have 5 different notebooks that cover all those different areas. Okay, bam. Awesome. And how do you know when it's working? Well, what you're going to see in this chat window is the NotebookLM MCP happening. Perfect. I'll create 5 separate notebooks using NotebookLM's deep research function, 1 for each of those critical things. MCP tool, NotebookLM. And look at it's triggering up, bam, bam, bam. So this is what I mean when I say it can programmatically do all of this stuff. Now, if we were in a folder that had all the context about everything, you can just see, like, it's almost like Lego, how you can build all these things together and create anything you want to. So now we're going to have 5 different notebooks spun up on those topics that we're then going to be able to ask questions about for whatever we want. Now, as you can see, guys, it's now come down. So check this out. Excellent. I've kicked off the deep research for all 5 YouTube 5 growth topics. Each research will take about 3 to 5 minutes. I will gather around 40 high quality sources from across the web. YouTube content strategy and audience, YouTube packaging, thumbnails and titles, YouTube retention, storytelling, algorithm, and SEO. I should also add, by the way, that I could have specified this. I could have said, I only want to hear from creators like Ed Lawrence, really cool guy, lives out in Dubai, by the way, really decent dude. I could have been as specific as I wanted to. I could have had all my context on left about me, which I recommend that you do. We call this business context, your business brain that has all the information about who you are, your customers, and that could influence. So we get dynamic research based on your specific business. This is insane. So it's still on this sort of stuff, but if I want to click on one as a quick, for instance, I might open it up, you can see now that it's already doing the deep research for us, which is crazy. And I had to open up a different web browser because my default is actually a different one than Chrome these days. I left the Chrome family, I must admit. But if I come back now to the homepage, I should see 5 different things. And look at this, guys. We've got 5 YouTube packaging, thumbnail titles, YouTube retention, storytelling. So it's created for us as many notebooks as you want to. I said 5. I could easily have said as many as I wanted to. And this will create for us now beautiful, wonderful research on this stuff. And look at it's even given the prompt for its YouTube content strategy, audience psychology, understanding viewer intent, niche selection, creating content. Again, if I gave it more contextual information about me, it would have been even more specific. Now, the other thing I want to do here is create a skill to leverage this MCP. To do that, I'm just in the community. I'm going to grab my AntiGravity skill resource here, which is going to be the skill creator. So a skill is just going to be something that we use very consistently within AntiGravity. I'm going to put a link for this down below, so don't worry, all these resources will be available for you so you can just grab them. But basically, this is just going to be a new feature came in AntiGravity recently, and it describes ways in which we want it to act. So we basically get it to do something very repeatable, very specific, and whenever it accesses that MCP, it can follow a real cool set of principles. So let's come over to AntiGravity real quick. Hey dude, I would like you to go ahead and create for me a skill based on the below information for accessing the MCP with NotebookLM, please. Also be aware, I'm going to show you all the different things that it can do. I want you to create a skill based on the below. Cool. So say below skill template, which is cool. And then I'm going to say NotebookLM Cape abilities. Cool. And then let's come over and just grab that. But again, come down here, come to MCP servers. Let's go to manage MCP servers, come to NotebookLM and copy all this stuff. Now, one of the reasons why I want to create a skill here is because I want to have a lot of control over how this actually behaves. So for example, there's many things it can do with a NotebookLM, but I want to be really specific. So for example, I might say, whenever you're creating notebooks, always reference the About Jack section to make sure it's specific. So if I had a file on the left now that said, who is Jack? And it's, I think Jack is an entrepreneur, or Jack likes to drink coffee and has white jumpers, or whatever the thing is, we can be specific about, you need to reference these files before going here. So for example, if I said that my niche is helping businesses with AI systems, for example, one of the things that this would have done when it went to NotebookLM is said, great, I want you to find YouTube niches about business, and I wouldn't have to keep repeating the context because we actually codify that into an anti-gravity skill. And you can do that really conversationally by just chatting to it in the window. And then meanwhile, if I come back over here, you can see now it's actually got 38 different sources. So at the moment, one of the limitations is it won't automatically import it, but there's two quick ways around that. One is you just click the import button yourself. The second though, if I come back over, what I can actually do here is say, hey dude, it's created all 5 of the different resources. What I would like you to do is to go ahead and import them on all 5 of the notebooks. And what I'd like you to add to your skill.md is that whenever you create these notebooks in the future, after a few minutes, call it 5 minutes or so, I want you to manually open them up in the browser and basically import all of them. So I don't need to do any further actions. Beautiful. So you see now how valuable the skill is because we explain it once, we throw it in skill.md, which is amazing. And then AntiGravity and NotebookLM, it basically codifies how I want it to behave. It's got the tools, but it's me saying this is how I want you to go ahead and use those tools. Kind of think of it like it's instruction manual. So now we've covered exactly how to create infinite numbers of notebooks that are specific and tailored to you without you doing anything apart from yapping to anti-gravity. We've covered how we put those into the skill. But the next thing now is how we actually go ahead and leverage and use these skills in any kind of project or something that we're building within anti-gravity. Because when building them is one thing, but then utilizing them within a project or a chat interface is something completely different. Now, one of the things that I want to do alongside this, as you can see, it's just executing all my requests now in terms of opening up the browsers and things, is what we can do is in anti-gravity, and one of the main benefits of anti-gravity is the fact that we can head over to the agent manager, which means we can have multiple agents working on this project at the same time, which is awesome. So I'm going to click on Open Agent Manager. So all you do is you start a new conversation, you select the notebook you want to chat with, and then this is an additional agent working on the same thing. So here's the thing I want you to do. Hey dude, what I would like you to do on the left-hand side is have what I call NotebookLM brain resources, or call it something cooler than that. I just want a quick doc that explains basically all of the different notebooks that I have access to on the left-hand side. Awesome. So I'm going to send him off to do his thing, which is awesome. So you can see now on the left-hand side, I've got NotebookLM. I have one, where is it gone now actually? Here you go. He is now working on that for us in the background, and it's using that MCP tool to grab a list. Awesome. Then I'm going to spin up another agent to do something slightly different for us. And I should also call out, guys, that it's already brought in all the resources. I mean, check this out. So 49 resources for content strategy and audience psychology, 48 resources, 49 resources. This is crazy. So for example, if I now come back over to Google Chrome, you can see now that it's basically built in 50 different resources. Look at this. This is crazy. And if I go back to the homepage now, let's see it's done it for everything, for all these 5. There we go. You can see. So best way to test this is now just to ask it a question. So what I'm going to do is come over here and give it something like, hey there, dude, I'm starting a YouTube channel speaking to, basically, I want to talk about English Springer Spaniels. Could you do me a favor, query NotebookLM and find the best, most relevant advice to help me start that channel, how to make my first videos, and maybe any tips that would be really relevant for my particular situation. I have the capacity to create 3 videos a week. Awesome. And whilst that's working in the background here, I'm actually going to create a folder on the left-hand side. I'm going to call this new file. I'm going to call this one jack.md. All right. And then what I think I'm going to do is within this skill is describe about me. Hey there, my name is Jack. I have a YouTube channel talking about the English Springer Spaniel. I have the capacity to do 3 videos a week. I am pretty bad at communicating on camera. My passion to monetize this is to fund the Springer Spaniel Rescue Center charity. That's my whole goal and objective. Whatever it is, right? So I've given it some information now about me and what I want to do, which is awesome. And then what I want to do actually is basically tell anti-gravity this skill that whenever it's referencing NotebookLM, it needs to understand and reference that skill. So what I'm going to do here as well is we're going to go back over to the agent manager so we can call up another AI tool, and I'm going to give it something interesting. So let's come to NotebookLM, which is our thing, and we click on this plus. Hey dude, I want you to update the skill on NotebookLM and just basically say whenever you reference NotebookLM, one of the things that you must do is check the information within this folder so that it is contextual, okay? And then what we do, guys, is we just do a Shift app, and what we can do is click JackMD. So that tells it the file that I'm talking about. So what I've told this guy to do, remember, how do you toggle between these two things? Anti-gravity has two windows, okay? That's all you need to know. You have the agent manager, where all the agents live, okay? And you have the editor. The editor is what we're doing here, everything we've been using for most of the video. And then the agent manager is this beautiful thing here where we can chat to all of these different things at the same time. And again, I could in theory be working on 6 or 7 different projects. And some people say that people in white jumpers can't multitask, but we'll see about that. So we come back over, come to editor, and you can see now we're going to have updated this skill, which is really freaking cool. All right. So now, let's come down and have a look at everything that's happening within this window. And one of the things that you can see, guys, which is very, very cool, so I'm going to save that JackMD. Want to make sure we've got that sort of stuff done. And there's our resources. Again, all the tabs just appear there, which is great. And as you can see, guys, after that question, we can see the MCP's been basically asked the question, and the answer we got back from NotebookLM. If I scroll down here, we've got all of the advice. So we've got niche down, we've got weekly content mix, hybrid funnel strategy, hook mastery, thumbnail psychology, build trust and connection, algorithm focus, and example schedule for the weeks, which is freaking amazing. And we got all of that from our incredible resources with the NotebookLM. So then I might say something like, hey there, dude, do me a favor, could you make an action plan on the left-hand side called YouTube strategy for me based on this information? Awesome. And again, we can go back and forth, ask further clarificatory questions. We could even, if we want to, get AntiGravity itself to build and develop a strategy by speaking to the notebook and actually have these self-contained iterative cycles where the AI here is querying that AI and the resources to build out the plan, which is going to be incredible. And just like that, I've now got this beautiful YouTube strategy down here on the left-hand side that I can follow and advise based on the information from AntiGravity. So now we're having full-blown conversations with our notebooks. We're creating them. We're having conversations to inform strategy. This is the bit now where we can take it to another level, which is why level 3 is about using the resources and knowledges that we have with the NotebookLM to actually create and build something really interesting, to build an application within AntiGravity. So here, what I'm going to ask it to do as an example, and of course we could use our classic BLAST framework for building anything within AntiGravity, but I really just want to showcase the capabilities here. So I'm going to ask the model, I'm going to say, hey, I would like you to build me an interactive one-pager, HTML, based on all the information that you can get from the notebooks. Specifically, what I'd like it to do is be interactive and just be as helpful as possible on all of this information. It should be something I can look at, visually beautiful, engaging, phenomenal. Okay, fantastic. Now, as we know from every video I've done on my channel, we can make these dashboards look gorgeous. We can do dashboards that are connected to CRMs. We can do basically dashboards and websites that are interactive and kind of like animated. There's so many things we can do. The capability I want to double click on here, out of respect for your time, is the fact that we're leveraging the notebook knowledge to build something. I want you to know how to leverage that notebook knowledge. Essentially, you can build it into any part of the application that you like. So I didn't just want to build like an app. I want to build something based on all the cool information that we got from NotebookLM, which we can now do via AntiGravity. And what's really interesting here, guys, if you actually come in and double click on it, you can see the kind of queries that we've given it here, right? So take a look at this. So one of the things that we asked it is extract specific mathematical formulas, metrics, and benchmarks for YouTube growth, outlier ratio, CTR targets and goals, and then we've got the output. Okay, awesome. Well, what else are we asking to? Well, we've got another notebook here. List power words, psychological triggers for titles. What specific combinations of visual elements, faces, arrow, contrast work best? So this is going to be about thumbnails. Awesome. Then we've got another one here, which is going to be about what are the specific engagement techniques to build, blah, blah, blah. You can see it's querying different notebooks with different kinds of questions, and all this knowledge exists there, and we just bring it in when we need to. Wonderful. So now, basically, AntiGravity's finished designing this and turning this into an interactive dashboard. I could click on this, for instance, right now, which is awesome. And we've got the Springer Spaniel Command Center, Advanced YouTube Strategy and Operating Intelligence System. Cool. Obviously, we could do anything we want to with this design. But the primary goal is 3 videos a week, VSAT watch time, micro niche, which is cool. I can connect this to my YouTube channel. I could do anything. I could scrape. I could do literally a billion things with this. So let's see. We've got the growth lab. So outlier ratio, video views. So let's just say that, I don't know, we just get something like 10,000 video views. Top subscribers could be 22,000. Results ratio, viral outlier detected. Really cool. We've got health check down here, which is cool. So it's a click-through rate. So say that's 8%, which is really, really high. Average view duration, let's just say that it was, I don't know, 52%. Viral profitability. I mean, this is really cool, right? It's based on all the kind of things. And then we've got a little checklist built in. So one-man rule, we can take things off as we go. We can also connect this to Superbase that will just save all these things for us. We could build this out in any way we want to, right? It's really cool. But the cool thing is it's all designed around the entire knowledge base we've got. So basically you can spin up any app or dashboard. The other cool thing you could do if you wanted to is, say, for example, you're doing some compliance for a business, right? ISO 9000, whatever compliance. What you could do is do full research for 40, 50 pages, then have that built in and turned to apps. So for example, if I have a page on my website talking about ISO 9000, one of the things I can do is basically say, hey, AntiGravity, go to my ISO 9000 knowledge base and just make sure that everything's accurate. It will pull down the specific questions and then query NotebookLM to make sure that every part of it's accurate based on a knowledge base. So you can see the potential with these connections. So now we found that we can build literally any application connected to anything. Level 4 now is actually about programmatically creating slide decks, presentations, audio overviews, anything. So essentially what we're going to do in level 4 is basically once we've created these beautiful resources, we can now, from the home and comforts of AntiGravity, create pretty much anything we want to that can be created within AntiGravity, within NotebookLM itself. Okay, so this is cool. Why don't we, for example, ask this now. I'm going to say, hey dude, could you do me an audio overview on the YouTube database within NotebookLM around hooks? I want to generate one of the audio overviews for that. And then also, if you can, create me a presentation that I can view also. Thank you. Also, use the NotebookLM MCP to do this. Okay, fantastic. So we've specified it, sent it off. So let me just show you what this looks like in reality. So if I click on this as a for instance, again, you can create audio overviews. You can create mind maps. You can reports. And basically the MCP is configured in a way that we can do that within AntiGravity. So why is that really cool? Well, it's cool because let's say, for example, that I want to learn about AntiGravity. I want to learn about watches. I want to learn about the Jack Robert School community and all the cool places that we're meeting up this show. Whatever the thing is, right? I can spill up all these individual scenarios, like from all these resources. Maybe you're moving to Australia or Berlin and you want to learn about the tax. And it's like 10 topics. We can do this programmatically in AntiGravity, turn it into audio overview and have all the files ready for us just to listen to. So you don't even need to come in here and manually click things. And look, generating audio overview. You didn't even, I didn't even, guys, my hands were here. I didn't touch a single key on this keyboard and it happened almost by magic, except it isn't magic. It happened in AntiGravity, which is crazy. And look, I come back over here, guys. We've got the audio overview that's been requested, the slide deck, which is great. It's like, dude, build me a slide deck, build me an audio overview. We can do this for all the notebooks we create. And remember, we can create like an infinite number of these notebooks. Well, to the extent that NotebookLM will allow you to create like 1 billion. I don't know what the limit is, but you get the idea. As many as you want to. And then this very nicely brings us on to level 5. So level 5 is the ability to take any of the files en masse from your own laptop, computer, and actually create a notebook from them. So for example, you had several meetings with clients and you want to chat to all of them. Or it could be things in your business that you want to chat about later. Literally any files you've got on your computer or any knowledge base local, we can actually upload. And that could be text, it could be anything. So I'll show you exactly how to do that. Cool, so now we're in AntiGravity. Let's have a think how we're going to do this now. So there's a couple of different things. So when it comes to storing this information, we could do many different things. So for example, let's say that I create a random piece of information. Like I've got jack.md here, right? And I've got notebook, brain, resources. So how about we try something like this first of all? Hey there, dude, I would like you to create a brand new notebook in NotebookLM, and I want you to add jack.md and notebook_brain_resources as 2 resources within this notebook. Thank you. Awesome. So first I want to show you is that I can literally tell AntiGravity, hey, this is what I want to do, and just add these 2 things to it. And look, it's automatically identified what they are. It's going to add it in and do that for us, meaning that we can essentially take any text we want to and add that into AntiGravity. Okay, so I have successfully created the notebook and added both the resources. So let's go ahead and check if that's true. So we come back over. This guy is just finishing the audio overview, which is awesome. Let's go to the homepage and have a quick look. So if we were to refresh this one real quick, let's see what we've got. All right, give it a hot second. It's reloading. And oh my gosh, I didn't know we wanted to spring this manual. That's a little bit controversial, some might say. All right, we've got it here. So let's take a quick look. And we've got jack.md. Hey there, my name is Jack, which is cool. Okay, we like that. We're very familiar with that. And then we've got notebook resources, which is everything we mentioned, which is very, very cool. But what if we had a file that wasn't text? What if it was like a PDF? So let's come down and download this one, for example, and see if it will add that to NotebookLM. So bring this over, click on download. Now, typically speaking, when you, what we call RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, I did like YouTube's like biggest masterclass on it. I'll put it somewhere on the screen for you. But the bottom line, it's basically how you store information. Now, typically, when you RAG documents or text, it's dead easy. But PDFs can be strange. PDFs are weird. But this is why AntiGravity is so cool, because there's no problem. I like to believe there's no problem too big that we can't overcome with the right thinking and strategy and tools. So I've downloaded this PDF, right? I'm going to head back over to AntiGravity. And what I'm going to do, and what I recommend that you do, by the way, is you right click, you click on folder, okay? And in this folder, you could just say something like notebook to add, right? And then you could add a new folder, which is notebook added, right? And essentially what we do is we explain this in Gemini.md about what this is. And essentially, as soon as it's added, you could think of a better naming convention, but you get the idea. When it's finished, you just move it over. So we have got over here notebook to add. So all we're going to do is come over and drop our PDF into AntiGravity, which you can do by grabbing and just simple drop right there. So now it's in the environment, and look at this. We've got all this cool stuff. So I've got AntiGravity Skills. I'm going to add it in Notebook to add. Sweet. And it's in there. So I'm going to say is, hey there, dude, I want you to add every file within this folder into that notebook for me. And then let's just tag the folder, which is going to be notebook. What did we call it? To add. No, right there. It's got one file in it. And when that's complete, please place the file into this folder. Right. And then we just control and just do notebook added. Okay. So I've just said to the complete folder, and I've just renamed it complete. I don't think you can tag it unless it has a document in it. So let's just now send this one off. So it's got a PDF. So we'll see how AntiGravity processes that for us, which is going to be awesome. And if it doesn't process that, so say for example that you've got something that is like 50 pages long, AntiGravity can actually create a script to basically translate that into text for us, which is really awesome. And you just say, hey, I want you to create me a script for a skill that will transfer it from this into this, and it'll do that for us instantaneously. Okay, so this is really good. So this has struggled now with converting it in PDF. So what AntiGravity is going to do now is actually take it from PDF to text. And you could leave AntiGravity in the background to do this for us. We could also turn this into a skill or a script that would just do it for everything, where it identifies the file type, then based on that file type, goes and does whatever we like to. And then all you do is just grab the files that you want to put into a notebook and you just drop it into the section. And you'll use this for your business. Maybe you've got SOPs that you want to leverage. There's a million different things you can do, whether documents change on a very regular basis. The other cool thing here is that if you're building tools and systems that themselves create documents that you then want to put into notebooks, you can just do this all completely automated with this system. And just like this, guys, what AntiGravity has done, since you can't load a PDF through this method, is converted it to text and then uploaded it, which is awesome. So it's created a Python virtual environment. It's done a lot of crazy stuff, but the TLDR of it is it's all ready to rock and roll. So let's head over to a notebook now and validate that that's happened. And then I've come over, I've refreshed the page, and would you believe it, guys, the AntiGravity Skill Creator PDF has finally arrived, and we can see all of the information there on the left-hand side. And so generally with this MCP, this is like an unofficial one. In other words, it's not from NotebookLM themselves. If you ever run into any problems like, hey, I can't get this kind of document type, AntiGravity can help you troubleshoot that and build a system to make sure you can get any files and documents over there. And if you're not sure how to do something, you can ask the questions and troubleshoot as you go.
Beautiful. And so now we've cracked all this amazing stuff around NotebookLM. The next thing we're going to look at now is how you build beautiful, gorgeous websites that clients pay thousands and thousands of dollars for, that they make you stand out so far from all your competitors. I'm going to go from beginner to advanced. I'm going to show you two systems. One to get started, to get you rocking and rolling. And the second one is how we take it interstellar. Let's jump straight in. Gemini 3.0 is amazing. It can build amazing websites. It can build incredible AI systems. But if you combine it with growth systems, you can get outlier results. We want a beautiful website that converts viewers into buyers, will accelerate your business, that you can even sell to clients. It's easy to build and deploy, and you can even leverage AI in it, which I'm going to show you how to do in this video. And to make this magic happen, we're going to use the 4-step site framework that's going to take it from ideas into a gorgeous website that kicks butts and gets results. S stands for strategy. Now, a lot of people just skip this step and go straight into creating, but that kind of sets up a false economy. When I've sold websites to businesses, one of the things it really crushes isn't the design, even though that is now amazing and makes a huge difference. It's the fact that it solves the business problem. So just take a second to think about this before we jump in. What boat we're rowing in is more important than how hard we row. And when we combine that with Gemini's capabilities, we kick butt. So, strategy. First thing to do is to choose the overall purpose of the website in your endeavor, your business, okay? Is it handle number one, which is cold traffic you're sending there? If it is, then we primarily want to give them a lot of value and do some kind of diagnostic to warm them up, add more value, and get them down our funnel. If it's warm traffic, we're looking again to add value, but progress more towards getting some kind of commitment on the page. And if it's outbound traffic, in other words, you're reaching out to businesses and saying, hey, I want to work with you, or you know, outbound stuff, it's more important to build trust. And if you're in doubt, always treat. Basically, when I had this conversation with Alex Omozy, we had a really interesting chat about this, that if you treat warm traffic like cold traffic, they'll still convert better anyway. But it does change how we position the whole website, and we need to know this. Now, ask yourself one question. What is the viewer's state? And by that, I mean, we've got to ask ourselves a couple of things. What are their 3 biggest problems? Because we're going to want to address that in the actual website design and copy, and it all blends together nicely. We have the design, and then we have the content to achieve the thing we want to get. What do they already believe before clicking on our website? What are they unsure about? And what made them click? And once you've thought about those questions with a beautiful cup of coffee, it's time to go into the second step in our site framework, which stands for interface. So at this point, the first thing we want to do in the interface section is to get a mood board of things that we think are cool or look great. The best site that I found for this right now is Dribbble. You go to Dribbble, you can pretty much type in any keyword and find gorgeous websites that you like there. The other one that you can use for more of a code perspective, and I'm going to show you some interesting things in this video that you've probably never seen before in terms of a design that's going to blow your mind and how you can replicate designs in a crazy, crazy way. So you can check out CodePen, and then another great one is Mobin, which gives you great designs, graphics, dashboards, whatever sort of stuff that you need. Mobin itself, guys, I'm not sure if I'm even pronouncing this correctly, to be fair, is pretty freaking wild. Like, look at this. They've got Claude in there. They've got all these different AI assistants. They've got it for mobile. They've got it for web. You can literally toggle here to go from iOS to web and just take a moment to kind of browse around the shop and see what you like. So you can check out by categories. Then obviously in Dribbble, you just enter any information that you want to. And then, of course, we've got Google AI Studio. And I'm also going to show you, by the way, guys, how integrating AI into the website itself will actually drive way more sales and drive your business forward, because that was one of the core features I found when I saw my 8001. So what are we going to look at first? Well, I think in this video, what would be cool, and I've deliberately not thought of something ahead of time because I wanted it to be organic and interesting. There's one website that I've seen that I think looks really cool, which is Base 10, which we're using for our text-to-speech startup glider. And I like the kind of Apple-esque feel of it. I like the dotted line feel of it. I think it's a really nice, interesting website. So I was thinking for this video, we could do one on something like dental agencies. So maybe we want to work with dentists and our business helps them implement systems to scale their business, which is a lot of AI work in that. So let's say, for example, we like this, and I want to kind of use these dotted lines because it's a kind of systematic way of doing things. So I want to make it look like it is a system for applicable way of doing it. So first thing you do is just grab the mood board, and then you're going to come over to Google AI Studio and start pasting in. A cool little hack that you can do as well, by the way, is head over to Canva, open up a whiteboard like this, okay, and paste it in, and then add a little bit of text underneath it. So you come down here and you say something like hero section, okay, and we're going to make that bold and probably a bit larger. So we're both going to give it the actual information, and we're also going to write it down here. So we can be specific about what we like about each bit and where you want to do what. So again, Gemini's really clever. But again, you need to give it some specifics. So I like the hero section of that. I think this is decent. Okay, beautiful. I think this is all we need from Base 10. So we'll say goodbye. Then you're going to come around and have a little look. So if I just come down here and I said website, let's see if we've got anything interesting. And you're pretty much just going to have a little look around and browse and find websites that you think are really interesting. So here, for example, let's just say we wanted to look at finance because they typically have really gorgeous, engaging websites. I love the style of this. I think this is so nice. I mean, if you look at this, guys, it's pretty insane. Now we just one click, copy it, which is fantastic. You can come down and have a look and see whatever you want to do. This one really caught my eye here. There's Gemini. So I'm going to do, guys, is actually copy and grab that. So let's come down and just steal it. Steal it with pride, as I say, for design inspiration for the purposes of this, which is really cool. So come back over to UI elements and you can see you've got everything here. So let's come down and just copy that. Fantastic. Come back over and throw this one over here. Beautiful. And then we come back over to Google AI Studio. And again, we throw that one in there. And then let's give this a bit of a section, which is, I do want a hero section. And actually, I'm going to amend this to say, this is how I like dotted line and monochromatic. Actually, instead of monochromatic, if we just come down and give it a specific piece of feedback, like, I know this can seem a little bit like it takes a bit of time, but you'll save a lot more time in general because we want to one-shot this as possible. And then let's also add this in for testimonials because I think this is gorgeous. So you pretty much like a dream list, just grabbing design components that you want. Now, they do follow there's a structure to creating websites that does convert. And I'm going to cover on this outside the design point because that's so important to understand. So come over here and now we're just going to put this in here. And then we are just going to say design. We come over to Google AI Studio, drop that core image in. And then what we're going to say here is just simply testimonials. Testimonials. Beautiful. All right, nice. Now we've got this, we've kind of paired the feedback to the image. I'm going to add a bit of a background thing in here just so that it's clear on the dotted lines of Canva, what we're looking at. Send this all the way back. Awesome. And then let's make this white so it looks nice and tasty. You'll know when you watch my videos, like I tend to get stuck down these design rabbit holes. Like I did it in my community. It's really funny. So in the classroom, for example, I went down and I had to have this like dotted connected artwork. So I was like, I spent a whole day doing it. And I was like, I get these things sometimes. And I'm like, I just think design is just so important to do. It genuinely is. That was one of the biggest pieces of feedback I got my first tech business actually was that the website was so good and crisp. People just assumed, like I had one guy said, oh dude, yeah, you must have had like millions in funding. And I was like, dude, we didn't. We actually didn't. We bootstrapped it to start. So it was really funny we get that feedback. That's the difference that it makes. So we've got the mood boards, which is awesome. Now we're going to come and give it a prompt, and we're going to establish, first of all, the design aesthetic, the sections. And then after that, we're going to look at the second part, which is going to be the copy. And what we want to do is a kind of easy 3-part structure prompt. So for example, we might say something like, hey, I would like you to design for me a website for an agency that helps dentists scale their business using proven AI systems. Okay, beautiful. And then we want to give it some information about the kind of stylistic guidelines and then reference to this. And then we can add more specifics at the bottom. So I'm going to come and grab from here some stylistic guidelines I thought would be really handy and interesting. So let me open up these, and we're going to need that conversion blueprint in a second. So we've got like a design elements cheat sheet. So these are things that we can add in if we want to, right? Like solo animated background. I think that is really cool. So let's add this one here. Let's go for soft animated background, light beam texture, bam. So if I want to add this in, I'm just going to come over to this style to add in these components, bam. And then we've got the things like intentional micro interactions, everything reacts. I think that'd be a cool one for us to have as well. Let's add that in there. Yeah, so after we've added this one here as well, you can basically just go through and decide what you would like. And I'll show this as a link down below so you can grab it and have fun with it. Just different kind of components that you want, like depth layers, strong typography, whatever you want to. Then the next thing I want to do is give it like an effect or a style to replicate. So we could do it in anything we want to. So you can decide, is there like a particular business that you like the look of that you want to replicate? I think Viscel is really nice. So if I just said in the style of Viscel, I think that is gorgeous. Let's come back over here. And then I'm going to put this one here, which is fantastic. Come back. And then at the bottom, I've got these like design specific prompts that you can use, which is like anything you want design wise to change that you think are going to be great. Just come down here, grab the ones that you want to add and amend as you pretty much go. And then you're going to come back over here. The next thing we need to do is add the structure of it. So before we do that though, let me just specify here. I'm going to say, I would like you to use the reference images that I provided and copy that style first and foremost, then use the below for additional context in your design. Beautiful. Okay, we'll have this one here. And then what I'm going to say at the bottom in terms of structure is I'm going to have, I would like you to use this website structure. Okay, now what we're going to have here at the top is simply this. You're going to start with a hook at the top. You're going to have a promise of value, a value proposition. Underneath that, the next section you're going to have then is going to be essentially is going to be the value proposition in more detail. So 2 or 3 things about the value proposition. Then we're going to have proof, and then we're going to have a CTA at the bottom of the screen. Now, when you do this, this is all going to be influenced by what you did in the first section, which is going to be the strategy section. Then when we're happy with that, we are effectively going to shoot this off and let it build and create some magic for us in the background. And whilst Gemini is building that, I'm also going to show you a new hack that you might not have seen before. Now, let's say, for example, there's a website that you like. I'll tell you a really good one is this one, which is designjoy.co. So this is a really beautiful website. I think it's great. It looks gorgeous. Let's say that you find a website that you want to replicate exactly. Now, most people will say all you're going to do is take a screenshot, right? Look, come here and it'll take a screenshot and blah, blah, blah. But what if I told you that basically, and you'll know this, but a website is basically HTML and you can download a website. So what you can do is you basically come over and grab one of these HTML downloaders. So if I just say HTML grab from website, like very poorly explained, but you get the idea. You can go to view page source, so see and download any code from any website. Find a website that you like, grab it, come back over, throw it in the URL, click on view source code, and this will be the exact code that you've got for that website. So we're going to come down and then we will do, I believe it's stylized code like so, and then we've got all of this. So simultaneously, what I'm going to do, guys, is come down and show you a secondary strategy that if you've just got one that you really like, and you're like, dude, I just want to replicate that website, you can do something like this. So what I'll do once I've copied that is come over to aistudio.google.com/apps. I'm going to open a new one. I'm going to say, I would like you to create for me a design agency website using the below HTML code, make it gorgeous and beautiful. Bam. Okay. Enter the HTML code, and then we accompany that with different screenshots. So you basically come down, you screenshot, you come back over, you throw that in, and then you just screenshot a few of the different elements that you like, that you think are decent, and I'll show you how close you can actually get with this. It is pretty wild, but you'll see for yourself in a second. Now, I'd never recommend that you just lift and shift websites. It's not a good way to do this, but what is really helpful though, when you're doing things like this, is that There's lots of things that you want to innovate on and be different on, but website structures that convert viewers into buyers and certain design principles, you don't need to actually innovate on all that stuff. So this is now working and pipping and popping in the background. Let's come back over to the initial one and see how we're getting on. It's developing it and it shouldn't take too long. And then we'll get our very first example to look at. Beautiful, guys. So we have Dentascale. Did you realize? Fill your chairs on autopilot. So it's got some animations in the background that needs to loop properly. So that'd be something that we need to be specific about. The operating system for your growth. This is really lovely. I love this. It's kind of like, you can see as I hover over it, there's a kind of orange hue that appears there. Amazing. And then this is really cool. That kind of soft fade and connect, collaborate, launch, measure impact. So we can see some cool stuff here. And then we've got feedback, scale your practice, and we are ready to rock and roll. But how are we getting on that with the design joy thing? So check this out. You're not going to believe this. Guys, look at this. You'd be remiss for thinking it's the same thing. Look at this. It's not exactly the same, but to be honest with you, just off that, like, and it's even got the same logos, which is crazy. It's got these things coming down here, one subscription, many possibilities. It's literally copying that verbatim. And even down to this, we can copy it like this. It is actually freaking wild how effective that is. And you can just copy the HTML like this to get a good basis if you want to follow a website structure more closely. The next thing I want to do, guys, is grab this 8-step conversion blueprint, which effectively is all the stuff we want on a high converting page, basically to turn viewers into buyers. So what I come down here is grab this right here. And as you can see, we've got the value proposition, the proof, the frictionless CTA, the follow-up, the debug. So I'm going to come back over then and give it one nice, tasty follow-up prompt over here. So once we've refined the design, you're going to go back and forth. Now, typically speaking, it's better to try and what we call one-shot the whole thing, in the sense that you get it to design somewhere near like 90-95% of the design that you want on your first go, because it's easy to amend. Now, good thing to bear in mind with Gemini here, with all these things, is that it can take what's existing and change it. But if you're asking it to reconstitute the entire design every time, it just gets stuck down these rabbit holes, even though it is incredibly effective. So I would rather you hit a fresh blank slate if you feel the design's not getting to the right point. Now, the next thing we do in this page realistically is look at the copy. So we want to change the copy to something that's actually going to resonate. So we want some kind of hook at the top. We want some kind of proof and credibility that's kind of easy to look at. And this brings us nicely onto the T section in our site's framework, which is text. When we're very happy with the design and the visuality of it, we're going to design this website perfectly. We are going to have at the very beginning a hook to grab their attention. There's different methodologies. Effectively, we can use things like a frustration hook, like dentists frustrated that you're not getting any clients, even though you're working very hard every week. Or we could have an offer hook, which is dentist will get you 20 new leads in 30 days, or you pay $0. So some kind of hook, a little explainer about what we do, ideally a visual image or something in the background. Then we want a little flirtation with the logos and credibility. Then we go straight into the value proposition, which is price is what you pay, value is what we get. And you explain that in a bit of detail. Then after that, we kind of want to go through a bit more proof so people know what we're doing and how it works. This could be testimonials from clients, include videos, include images. So for example, if you look at this thing I had a while ago on my community, this is full of testimonials of people who've been in the community, either got their first clients, got their first automations, it goes on and on. We've got all these videos. We're very blessed to have as many success stories as we do, because what we do talk about works. You basically fill all that stuff into the page to kick some butt. Then once you've done that and you've got the kind of text nailed down, the last thing we want is what we call a clear next step, because you've made a great promise that they care about. You've explained it in detail, you've shown them why you're credible, and the next thing is a very clear next step. And this is where we get to in our framework, the E, which stands for engine. An engine is the enhancement side of the website, how you take it from this to this. Now, when I sold my last one for $8,000, one of the core criticalities I had in there was a chatbot that would take the email and book leads. Now, what's really cool is that you can integrate any AI component you want to into the website. It's crazy. And I'm going to show you how you can do 2 of those right now. The first one is going to be a chatbot. Now, to do that, we're going to head over to the wonderful 11labs.io. So let's load this bad boy up. Let's log in and kick some butt. So you can build agents. They can be voice agents. They can be conversational agents. It could be anything that you want to. So the first thing we do is come and sign up, which is fine. On the left-hand side, let me just come through. We're going to go with let's go with a business agent, which is great. We'll do healthcare and medical, or we'll do customer. Let's do scheduling. That's fantastic. Call this one Maria. And then our website could be something like, I don't know, monzo.com. Your main goal is to provide a helpful experience to the client and to book a 50-minute discovery call with Jack, our head of growth. Awesome. Okay. Chat only or audio, we can be either. We're just going to do chat only for this, but it could be audio. In fact, you know what? Let's do it. Let's make a speak. I'm going to come down. Okay, it needs a HTTPS. Okay, beautiful. And then create agent. Okay, did I not do this? That is crazy. Oh, I added one T too many. For a British person, that's pretty wild. Okay, that's loading up. And once we've done this, guys, we can just basically configure it to do anything that we want to. So I'm going to show you two different versions that we can do on this. So there's a new agent configuration that lets you scribe in real time, redesigned agent config, and a new widget, which is cool. So on this, you've got a personality that you can work through. You've got different voices. Like this is Eric, for example. He can play some different bits and pieces. You can decide which one that you want to. That's what he sounds like.
Riches, complain is poverty.
Okay, we're going to go with Stokes because Stokes is great. But basically, you can pick any of these ones that you want to. If you want it to have an auditory, like, you know, make an audio thing. And then we can have the language. So we would prefer to have UK English, I believe, which they don't have. So we'll just go with, unless they have United Kingdom. They don't seem to. That's interesting. Yeah, we'll just go with the States then. That's fine. We'll come down here. Or we can do Italian. I wonder if actually, my apologies, the accent is actually driven by the voice. That's just, English is always going to be English there. So we have all this stuff, which is cool. And we just click on save when you basically customize this and go through everything that you want to. And then you can come down to over here. And I think it is under preview agent. Then you can have a conversation with it to do whatever you want to. So you can expect and connect it to all of your apps, which is very cool. And to do that, you come over to workflow. You can build up workflows. You can do knowledge bases. So you can give it like all the information. Add documents, policy documents, things about your websites. If you say, hey, Jack, what do you charge for XYZ? It can tell you that. Or like, can you give me examples about companies that you worked with before? It can do all of that stuff. Then it has tools. These tools can then do things like end the conversation, transfer to agents. So if it's having a chat with somebody and it's not getting enough, it can loop you in and do some really cool things. Then on the widget section, you can actually embed this. So what we're going to do here is copy this. We're going to come down here and I think we can save and we're ready to rock and roll. You can come back over to Gemini and then you can say this. I would like you to embed this chat widget into the website. Okay. So once you've done all the customization, obviously we cover a lot more about that in the community, all the kind of cool AI tech and how you level it up. But just to give you TLDR of your respect for your time here, you can just then copy this embed code, which is HTML, which will call 11 Labs and then install it within the website. Meaning now that you have this gorgeous website, which loops, we've got all the animations, we've got everything that we need, and then we're going to have this additional chat functionality in there too. Now, while this is rendering in the background, and I think actually this very second, I think it's just complete. It has. Oh my gosh, guys, check this out. So if I come up and I full screen this, let's have a look. You're now going to have this in the bottom right-hand corner, which means that you can do things. Again, it could be chat only. It could be anything that you want. We accept. And we could just send a message. If it was chat only, it would just be like a chat bot. So I'd be like, hey man, how's it going? Boom. And then it'll stop responding to me and we'll have a full conversation. And then we equip this with agent tools. We can connect this to automations, capture emails, bot calls, whatever we want to. So this is very cool. But let's say that one of the CTAs that went on the website wasn't just to book a call, but what we actually wanted to do is give them like an audit or something free. One of the things we can do is build a questionnaire into it. So check this out. I would like you to develop for me a questionnaire embedded at the bottom of the form. The value proposition of this is find out how much money your dental practice is losing every month by not having email systems installed. You're going to ask them 4 questions. Their email, their number, which is optional, their name. You're going to ask them what their average value per lead is, and then how many email subscribers they have, and then how many emails they send per week, and then click submit. Okay. Then what we're going to do is actually grab an AI piece of software. So we're going to head over to Go High Level. Now, Go High Level is amazing because it lets us build loads of automation sequences out and emails and texts and loads of cool stuff like this. So, for example, what I can do with Go High Level is send the information over there to anything. I can send it over to NA10. I can send it over to anything I possibly imagine. You're going to come on the left-hand side right here. You're going to come down to this. And then when you're in your account on the left-hand side, you're just going to come down here to automation. And then when you're on automation, you're going to open up a brand new automation very quickly, which is create workflow, start from scratch. And all we're going to add into this is a webhook. And webhooks just connect things to other things. Because what we do here, guys, is grab the information from our app and then bring it over. So we come over here, we're going to add a new trigger. We're going to go for webhook, inbound webhook, and it will give us a webhook address. And we copy it. And then you're going to come back over to our design, which is over here, I believe. I'm going to say, send the information to this webhook. And you paste it in. Oops, not quite that one. Let's come in and make sure we get the correct webhook address from Go High Level, which is here, right? So it's come down. All right, now we've copied it. Now we can enter it in and we're ready to go. Send this prompt off, and then we're going to have a form that will then connect to Go High Level, and then we can look at how we publish it, deploy it, and kick some butt. And just like that, we now have an update. So let's check out what the form looks like. We're going to scroll down and have a look, and we should see a form on the page. Wow, look at this. How much money are you losing? So in reality, we would want to change the design of this, but obviously this is just to get it live and rock and rolling. So say, hey, I'd say my practice name is Dr. Teeth. Okay, Dr. Teeth. We'll say it's Teeth at Outlook. Phone number, we'll leave it. Value per lead is going to be something like $500. And then total email subscribers, we'll have 10 to 3, 10,000 emails sent per week will be 1. Then calculate my lost revenues. Click on this. It's calculating for us. Calculation is complete. Awesome. Now, if we head over to Go High Level here, and I come down, I click on fetch sample requests. Just 1 second. It looks like it hasn't sent that. So let's just confirm this one more time. Grab this. If I just save trigger, mapping reference. Let's see if we can reference payload. Nothing's come up yet. So what we do is come back over to our scenario real quick, and then we just give it that feedback that didn't come through. Hey there, dude, you just need to make sure that you send that information through to the below webhook. When I complete the form, it doesn't actually happen. Also, give the form a white background so it stands out a bit more, and make it top to bottom rather than having questions left to right. And then we give it feedback and send that back off. And then we can try that one more time. So now we've redone this. I've entered some information, and we'll click on calculate my lost revenue, and we'll send this one back off. And then we just come straight back over to Go High Level, and then we should see the reference payload. So we come down here, and as you can see, it's pulled through successfully. And then we've got all of the data. So we save that trigger. And then the next thing that we do in Go High Level, guys, is we've created the contact, which is awesome. 1 moment. So what we need to do, first of all, is add a field. So we add a field. We select on email, like so. And all you're going to do is come down here, click on this button here, find the hook, and type email. So this is saying, look, Jack, you've asked me to create an email. Where am I grabbing that email from? We're saying that we're grabbing it from the webhook, okay? Then we add another field, and the other field might be something like name, right? So it could be full name. And again, we just select the inbound webhook trigger, and then it basically automatically pulled through everything for us. So then here we could say, great, well, here is their name. And you can keep doing this, grabbing information, grabbing the financial data, and then what we can do once we've created that is simply send an email. You can also send SMS, which is cool. So I can send you a text message. I can send you a WhatsApp message. I can send you email sequences. And obviously you can build out a really beautiful email sequence to do that by clicking send on email and then go through the whole process. And typically speaking, your email sequences, it's great to send at least 5. Most people don't respond if they don't get a response on the first email. But as you can see, having a system like this where you're sending things back up, personalized for user message, can really improve conversions, and all the sales are happening the more emails that you actually send up there. So now we've got the website all ready and we're happy with it. The next thing we want to do is actually download it. So you're going to come down here and you're going to click on download app like so, and click on save. This is going to download all of these files for us, okay, onto our computer. Then when it's on our computer, we can edit it, get it ready to put onto GitHub, make any final changes. And then whenever we want to edit it, we have a folder on our computer that says a website, and then we can change it and do a million different things. So what I want you to do is head over and download this, if you haven't already, which is Cursor, which is basically a place that lets us edit code on our laptop. You could use things like VS Code. You could use things like AntiGravity, which is Gemini's one. It really is up to you. I like to use a combination of AntiGravity and Cursor. Then when you download Cursor, guys, you'll have something that looks like this. So the first thing we need to do is unzip the thing we downloaded. So come over to your downloads, double click on it, and Dental Scale AI will appear by magic. That in Cursor, we're going to open up that folder to let us edit it, okay? So come down here to File, click on Open Folder, select Dental Scale. Fantastic. And then this is our new app. Now, what I like to use personally is Claude Code. So, and come down here and click on Show Terminal. Now, Claude Code you need to use in a terminal. So to do that, you need to install it. And to install Claude Code, it's dead straightforward. We're using Claude, by the way, because it's like the most powerful model for editing things alongside Gemini 3.0, which we could use in AntiGravity, but I want to show you everything so you've got it. So you just come down, you literally just copy this code and paste it into the terminal, and you're ready to rock and roll. So once you've done that and it's downloaded, you type in Claude. Claude will appear. This thing on the right is how you chat within Cursor, basically. But what I'm going to do here is right-click, and I'm going to align this panel to the right. Cool. So what I'm going to do, if it will actually do that, it's misbehaving at the moment. Panel position right. Thank you very much. So first thing I want to do here is I would like to upload this to GitHub. I would like you just to go through the files, make sure it's as good as possible, make any amendments you think are valuable, and then I would like you to upload it to this GitHub, please. Okay, what I'm going to do is actually put it into plan mode. Plan mode just lets it think a little bit more detail. And then we head over to github.com. We're going to come down here, click on new, and then we're going to create it. We're going to call this one Dental 5000. And then we can hear like dental website, something like that. Change visibility will be public, and then click on create repo, which is awesome. And then you're going to copy that Git, come over to cursor, and then, oops, I need to just read this message because I sent that ahead of time. So just undo that and paste this one in. Cool. So then we give it the proper paste, and then we're going to be ready to rock and roll. Cool. And then cursor comes back with some questions. So we know it is indeed public, which is fine. And then we want minimal security issues, moderate security and cleanup, comprehensive. So just answer the questions that it gives you. I think we're going to be fine with, we can go with any level we want to. So we want to go for moderate, MIT license, no license is going to be needed. And then yes, professional setup is cool. And we submit answers. And the cool thing you can do, if you want to take your website from this to this, you basically say to Claude, you go into deep think mode, you explain the context and the purpose of the website, and you can actually ask it to go through the entire website line by line to improve anything that you want to, and it will sit there ruthlessly going through the entire website and improving the code. I did this with my text-to-speech startup Glido, and honestly, the copy and the quality was insane. So I'd say before you publish it, spend time with it, sparring with it, and make it amazing. So we say, yes, we're happy to also accept edits, so we don't need to keep here pressing one. Maybe it's good for workout, actually, a little bit of a rotator cuff training there. And then after this, guys, it will actually then push it through, you accept it, and it said it's now published live to GitHub, which you can go and validate very quickly. And now I'm on the GitHub. Let's go over to the code, and if it's worked, we can see, now guys, check this out. It's all the code there. It's perfect. Now, the cool thing is, whenever you edit this with Claude, this will update for us automatically when we tell it to do that. We call that pushing the changes live. So if you think of it like checkpoints in a game, when you don't want to go from level 1 to level 999 without saving it. We need to save it as we go, right? It's really the key. But the cool thing is now we've got the code on this repo, which is available to everybody. So if you wanted to make this protected, we would turn it to private. The way that you do that is clicking on settings, scroll down, and you'll see here visibility, which will be set to public. Where are we at right now? Down here, change visibility to private, and that'll mean that only you and everyone in your house, including your dog and Springer Spaniels, can see it. Now it's there. How do I get it on a website, and how do I get a cool domain, which no one shows you, but we're going to cover that. So you're going to head then over to Vercel. Really cool freaking website, blown up. This is where Bolt.new pushes all their stuff. You're going to come down on the right and click add new and add project. You connect this to GitHub, but it just opens a new browser and signs you in. On the left, you're going to see Dental 5000 3 minutes ago. You click on import, like so, which is decent. It auto selects the framework and click on deploy. If you try to push this to GitHub directly from AI Studio, one of the things I noticed is it just never seems to load. You end up with a black screen of death. When you take it to your computer and you have an actual model sit around with it, play around with it, move some things around, it just actually physically works. It does all the different changes to make sure it's ready to be website. And I think a lot of the reasons for that is dependencies. Actually, you need to install the dependencies, and that means it can be visible based on the beautiful frameworks that you have ready to rock and roll. So we click deploy and hold on 1 second. And just like that, guys, it is now live and rocking and rolling. And check this out. It's got Windows Biz hanging out. There's loads of things going on. You can scroll down. We've got interactivity. We've got loads of stuff happening. And let me show you, if you come back to cursor now this is published. I want to show you how cool this is. If I say, look, book 20 new patients, let's say I want to say something like, I don't like 20. I might just say, hey, change it from book 20 patients to book 27 patients. All right. I push that in. Bam. Now check this out. It's working in the background. I want to show you how this works because it's crazy. We'll have a little think. This will update it. This will update GitHub, and then GitHub will update Vercel automatically for us now that is live. So I want to let you see this in real time to see how crazy this is as we give it a hot second just to complete that. See, it's edited the code there, 20. It's got rid of that. Anything in red is what it removed, and green is what it replaced it with, right? Then it'll say, hey, this is now complete. It's ready to rock and roll. And we can go back over and see that it's complete. So if I come back over to Vercel here, you can see we've got everything here, guaranteed, or you pay $0, blah, blah, blah. Very cool. This is the page where I can do anything I want. I can effectively, if I want to, change the domain name on here. So let me just show you where that is. If I click on domains, buy domain, I can enter the thing I want. It'll let me buy any domain, which is coolspringerspaniels.com, the greatest website in the world. Add that in. I could change it, and then I can just set it. And now I have a beautiful client website for my business, for my clients. It works well. Then I come over to the page and I refresh this. Do I see 20 or 27? $1.27. Crazy. And I'd recommend that when you're building apps that you really like, that you do use Gemini 3 and also Claude 4.5. If I open AntiGravity, I can do the exact same thing by opening the folder. I can open the same thing that I downloaded over here, which is Dentiscale AI. And now this is exactly the same thing, guys, as we just played with on the actual app. But instead, we're doing it and using it in AntiGravity. I like using both Gemini and Claude because if you want to have credits in one, you can use the other, and both models are so powerful. Some people say 4.5 edges it, others say that Gemini edges it. I like to use both for different reasons and have a great time doing it. And so now you've covered the basics. What if you wanted to build something truly spectacular? What if you wanted to build an animated website? Well, it turns out we can actually pair together a couple of really simple apps and technologies to give actually scroll stopping animated websites. Let's dive straight in. And so this is the kind of website that we're going to build today. Something that is gorgeous, animated, is going to be beautifully responsive as you go down. You're going to see it's essentially, as you scroll through, it is just gorgeous. It's animated, lots of incredible things happening. You're going to learn how to build literally all this kind of stuff. You can see the kind of interactivity with these kind of beautiful designs and animations. We're going to show you exactly how you build all of this kind of stuff with an actual backend where users can create accounts. So they can go test at test.com, and we'll create this whole account right now. Boom, beautiful names. And we can even add an email address, call it google.com, which is beautiful. They can sign up. They can access dashboards. They can pretty much create anything they want to and save that information. And as you can see, everything is super responsive. So with AntiGravity and the systems in this video, we are going to build websites that look gorgeous, that are full stack, which means it has a beautiful back end and a front end. You're going to be able to create logins. It's going to be SEO optimized, and we're going to be able to do that easier than ever before with no code, I might add. So this is all possible for two reasons. Now, AntiGravity Skills and Google AI Studio. Now, I've tested this. I've tested so many different methods. I spent a while going through this. I can give you the best stuff that actually works when brand new stuff gets released. But let's just start with skills to explain exactly what I'm talking about here. As we know, skills are basically instructions that we can include within our integrated development environments, our IDEs, like AntiGravity. They can include code, but the TLDR of it is that they basically power up AntiGravity, right? They're kind of like, if you imagine Neo in the Matrix when he says, do you want to learn Kung Fu? And they plug it in the back of his head, and then he knows Kung Fu. That's kind of how AntiGravity skills work. And all you ever do with it is you literally just copy and paste, or you just say, hey, download this, and it will add it to your AntiGravity skills repo, which is really cool. Now, the skill that we're going to talk about in this video is this new skill, which is the UI and UX Pro skill. This is to show you how quickly this is blowing up right now. This is code for blowing up very quickly, by the way, which is really awesome, with over 20,000 5-stars reviews at the time of recording. And just to give you a sense of what it did, I basically built a website and I ran it through this skill. And this is just some of the stuff that it did for me. Once it ran through all the changes, it did all this, and also this. And I didn't have to do anything. It did over 50 individual changes to improve accessibility, UX, SEO, and performance improvements. It has 100 design plus rules, 57 UI styles, so your design looks amazing. It does SEO optimizations, so you can get more traffic, and conversion intelligence, so you can get more customers. And also UX and UI frameworks, so more people can use it. I'm not affiliated with these in any way at all, and before I even wanted to do a video on this, I wanted to test specifically, does it actually make a difference, and will it build a better website? And if it didn't, we wouldn't touch it. All right, Jack. So what is happening? What does all this mean to us? Well, this is where Google AI Studio comes in, which, if you're not familiar, is basically Google's online version of AntiGravity. And there's a reason for this, and it comes down to the design philosophy differences between AntiGravity and Google AI Studio. And I'm going to show you how you can leverage both of them to make way better, gorgeous applications. So the design philosophy behind AI Studio is to make something that looks really impressive. Their approach is to basically throw the kitchen sink at it. And again, we can improve this in a second. And the result really needs to be visually striking and wow factor. But drawback to this is the fact that it's not necessarily constituted in a way that's very scalable for a website. Like, it might break if you try to add things. So it's not very well structured, but it's visually gorgeous. By contrast, let's talk about AntiGravity and how this thinks about designing websites. Its design philosophy is to make something professional and maintainable. It is to make incremental improvements, best practice accessibility, and then polished and functional, but less flashy. And so in this video, we're going to cover all these best practices for creating actually gorgeous websites that aren't coded with just one sentence. And then we're going to combine that with two core concepts, which comes down to basically the sequencing and the AntiGravity skills, all to build a beautiful design operating system. So what this means, in this video, we're going to build a beautiful website with the design operating system skill. We're going to be able to create a login so users can have an account, and we're also going to deploy it so you can edit, make any changes that you like. Now, to create this beautiful, gorgeous website that enables users to sign in and is interactive and is SEO optimized, we have to do only three things. Now, the first step is to create a beautiful front
front-end website using AI Studio. So this is the AI Studio interface. We're going to use this to whip up an initial first shot that we think looks kind of cool. We just want this to be more like 80% correct, and then we can refine it within AntiGravity. Now, what I recommend that you do, if I just shoot over to my school community and grab this mega prompt here, this design framework, and I'll put a link for it down below so that you can use it straight away. Basically, what this design prompt does is it draws on all the expertise from the GitHub in terms of all the individual UI and UX components just to make it simple. So for example, the way this looks like, it kind of breaks down the design into 5 components. And when we integrate that with AntiGravity, it will break your website down into minute chunks and just hyper optimize it. But at the design creation stage, we can actually come down here and use this to help us to think about how we want to design our website. So for example, you've got panel layout, the style and aesthetic, the color and the theme, typography, and then any animations and interactions. So for example, if I come down to pattern layout, you can think about the kind of website that you want to build. So for instance, do I want to build a SaaS? Well, okay, cool. Well, typically the pattern is a hero section, features, social proof, and CTA. And I would completely agree with that is the typical SaaS thing, having run a couple of SaaSes, and I know that's the fact. Then you've got things like e-commerce, fintech, crypto. So we can kind of come down through this document and use it to grab things like, the style and aesthetic, like is there a specific one that you want? Well, you don't have to think of the keywords. Like look at this, soft shadows, sort of gradients, rounded corners, monochromatic, tactile, technical box shadow, insert and outsert. So you don't ever want to make the prompt too long for AI Studio. You want to kind of give it a little bit of free rein, but we want to be really specific. So you can just come down here and copy and paste the different elements that you like. And while that's happening, let me just give you a little hack as well with Google's AI Studio, is that you can actually recreate websites, because websites, if you think of them, are basically just code. So this, I think, is a really cool website. But if you come down and check it out, they've got this really gorgeous, they've even got all this stuff going on now, which is awesome. They've got this really gorgeous animation down here on the pricing, which is at the bottom. You can see there's all this really cool stuff. So if you wanted to recreate that, you can actually copy the website URL. You basically head over to Google and then you just type in HTML website extractor, like so. And then you're looking for view page source. When you click on this one, give this a second to load up and you will see some of the wonders what it can do. You literally click on this, you type that in like so, and click on view source code like that. And then what we can do is download the website basically onto our computer. So you click on download like so, download composo dev. And then what you can do within any of these websites is you can actually add this file just like that. And if you give it a prompt and just say, hey, rebuild the website with this HTML, it will actually understand some of the HTML assets. And so for example, this is one I did earlier, like as you hover over it, it's got that gorgeous, beautiful animation. You can see the spacing. It's just such a good and beautiful design inspired by the other website. So you can use that to level up certain parts of your HTML. I never ever recommend that you just like copy a website. What you want to do is take inspiration and be inspired by it. And if a specific HTML components you think are cool, you can use this to help like grab and kind of like develop those aspects of your own website. A cool thing you can do as well within Canva, and it doesn't have to be Canva, it can be anything, is to create kind of like a bit of a mood board. So you can head over to different websites, grab it, and then what I recommend you do is just number them. Come on the left hand side, type in, say for example, the number 3, like that, grab a 3 or just type 3. I mean, this is a pretty wacky 3 to be fair, but it helps you explain it. So you could say, hey, I want the hero section to look like this, like hero like this. And then you may say something like X, testimonials like this, right? Whatever the thing is, right? So you can actually help basically AI Studio understand that. Then all you do, if you're in your Mac, it's just Command Shift 5, get a screenshot, and then you can literally just copy that and throw that into AI Studio to get a really good prompt. And then you might wonder, where do I get inspiration from? Well, let me just grab and show. If I'm in the community, just show you a few examples of this. Let me come over and grab all these different websites where basically, you can just open up and find website inspiration of things. And dude, I love the look and style and the feel of that. And you kind of go through and you can check out these different websites, these different designs. Dribble's a really cool one for websites, and dashboards generally to give you some cool inspiration where you just kind of type in the thing that you like, and you can come down and find websites that you think, that kind of really reflects kind of brand identity that I like. Like you may think, hey, this looks really freaking cool. So this is a gorgeous website. So you may say, hey, I want my hero to look like this. And then you just simply come down and you might screenshot that and use it as inspiration whilst keeping your own brand identity. So for example, then you come back over to AI Studio and you paste that in and say hero section like above. And then if you're not sure on like how you want your brand guidelines to look, but a certain brand has something that you want it inspired by, if you head over to firecrawl.dev, one of the things that you can do in firecrawl.dev on Playground, for example, is actually enter in a specific brand. So I could type in, for example, Glido, which is the thing that I speak with on my videos, beautiful speech to text startup. So I come in, I type in glido.com, and then the format, come down, type in
branding, and then click on start scraping, and then I show you our website, for instance, glider.com, which, by the way, completely built using a system. The exact same thing. Cloud Glider for free, 5 times faster. So it's got a nice little hover animation. It's got a very specific style. So for example, I come back over here now. What this will do, when you come down and click on branding, it will show you not only our logo, our favicon, the original image, it will show you our entire color palette and the fonts that we use, and then you can use this to prompt and guide AI Studio to give you designs that look really cool, and obviously like all this sort of stuff, which is really freaking decent. And I really like this kind of vibe here, this kind of style. I think it's like really freaking cool. So if I come down to this building website thing, one of the things that I would really like is this for like a SaaS. So it's to say we want to do a little bit of a SaaS, for example, and let users log in, whatever use case is. We just copy this and then come back over to AI Studio, and then we can literally come down here and throw that in. And then we want to give it a little bit of an inspiration. So, hey, I'm building a website design agency that helps viewers, basically helps our clients turn viewers into buyers. And the way we do that is building gorgeous, beautiful websites that actually convert. And then we can just literally drop in this pattern here, which is really decent. And you just kind of come through the document, add bits in you want, add your mood board in, and just kind of free flow style with it. And if the first version isn't perfect, completely cool. Just open up a new chat window and spin it up. And this is completely free to use. So you're not even spending any credits to do this. And so as you can see from this website, I've learned on, you might have guessed it, Glido brand guidelines. So you can see how you can pull in different aspects and elements. So we build gorgeous websites, elevating digital presence through scientific design. We don't just build sites, we engineer conversion engines. And we've got this beautiful starlight animation, secure your audit, really, really cool. Scroll down, these are some of the brands that we work with. Got a nice transition, engineer for performance. So 6 different things that we do. Very cool. Ready to convert, secure a slot. I like it. Free AI conversion critique. Okay, we could play around with that, but you get the idea. And this can analyze a website. So it's got a really cool inbuilt feature. Plans at scale. And let's see, ridiculously cheap, totally free, serious business. Do you know what? I really think it's pretty cool, right? And then you come down, what our partners say, and I can just see as many risk views as I want to. And then we got the thing at the bottom. Really freaking cool, all built with AI Studio, using the techniques I just showed you. So then what do we do after this? Well, what we're going to want to do then is actually post this onto GitHub. So how do we do that? Well, first thing we do is exit out of here. And then what you want to do is click on this save to GitHub thing by clicking on this. I'm going to give it a repo name. We'll call this one something like, I don't know. Let's call it Gorgeous Websites, right? And we can just do the same thing for description. We'll make this public for the time being. Come down and create Git repo. If you're not familiar with what Git repo is, it's basically just a online site where we put code. It's like a Dropbox. You just store your files into it. It just keeps all that different things. And it's cool because if you create a Git repo for a website and you want to share that with somebody else, like we have so many of those resources in our community, like all my personal AI systems that help me scale my businesses, you can just go into those GitHub repos and download it, meaning you don't need to create it yourself. So it's really freaking cool. So we've got all these cool things. We stage and commit changes. It just means we push them live. And the cool thing now is that this is now in our GitHub repo. So we could share this with others if we wanted to. But most importantly, what it's going to enable us to do now is let our AntiGravity download and grab that, which is really freaking cool. So how do we know that it works? Well, you just click on this. It opens up. And would you believe it? Here are all the exact same files. How freaking cool is that? Now, the only thing we're going to do is click on this code, and you can come down and you're just going to copy this. Awesome. Then the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and download AntiGravity.google. If you haven't already, download it down to your computer, which is cool. So basically, all we're going to do, ask it, is to clone the repo. As you can see, you just paste it in, and then essentially it will come down, it will grab all the information, and look at this. This repository has been successfully cloned. It looks like a React TypeScript project. Here are the files, blah, blah, blah. Here are directories. Awesome. And so as you can see, everything now is in, rocking and rolling, and downloaded within AntiGravity. And so now we have the project in AntiGravity, and we've got our first shot of what our website looks like. This is the point where we take it from 0 to hero. We're going to go through the entire thing and basically get like an AI operating designer brain. Now this involves us heading over to this GitHub repository. As you can see, it's got everything in here, UI, UX Pro Max, and this kind of explains everything that it does in a website, all the specifics. Now this isn't really necessarily just about the design. The biggest asset of this actually is also about user experience, accessibility, making sure it's got all the different relevant features that make it epic. And you can see the level of effort and specificity, 67 UI styles, loads of really cool things here. Look at the general styles it's got. Look at the landing page styles. Look at everything it's got. It's really freaking cool. So how do we actually go ahead and grab this? Well, a couple ways you can do it. One is you just copy everything, which is a really easy way to do that if you want to. But effectively, what I recommend that you do is simply Control A, Control C. You can head over to a wonderful thing here. And then I'm going to say, hey, dude, this is a repository with UI, UX goals. What I'd love you to do is add in this repo to this project as a AntiGravity skill. Awesome. Now, you don't necessarily need to paste all this sort of stuff, but it is really easy to do this kind of thing. And then what AntiGravity is going to do now is grab it. So bear in mind, we have these different design philosophies with these online builders that make it look epic. Now what we're going to get AntiGravity to do here is to actually make it functional and scalable so you can build multiple websites. It's very scalable. It can be mobile optimized. It can tick all of the boxes so you can get more clients or help your clients with the designs itself, which is awesome. And I think one of my favorite things about this plugin, which is really cool, is the fact that it will actually actually go through from an SEO point of view and make loads of changes to it, which is really freaking cool. And just like that, guys, look at this. So for example, it's now added it. If I bring this out so you can see it, we've got the gorgeous website, which is our website. But then if you come to this Gemini Skills UI Pro Max, you can see all these workflows. It's got the markdown file that explains everything. It's got this Claude Skills. It's got Astro.csv, Flutter, HTML Tailwind, Jetpack, NextJV, all these different things are all now fully available to you from this one skill. And all you said is just install it now. So the first thing that we want to do now is just basically optimize the website in accordance with the design and sort of accessibility guidelines within this skill. So for example, awesome dude, the first thing I want you to do is in accordance with this skill is to improve and audit the website to make it better so it basically aligns with all the design principles outlined in the agent's UI skills. Fantastic. And then send that one off and let it just go through the entire checklist. And then what we're going to have it to do afterwards, awesome, I'd like just a general checklist of all the improvements that you've made once you've completed also. Great. So I can know exactly what it's done when it's completed. I'm beautiful, guys. Just like that, it has now gone through and analyzed absolutely everything. So check this out on the right hand side. Analyzed everything, and here's what it's done. UI and UX improvements, visual enhancements, added a scale animation, implemented glass formalism on the background drop, hero CTA optimization, increased glow intensity from 30 to 60%. It's just like the 1,000 very small micro things that a designer or an accessibility specialist would do on your website. Navigation bar improvements, pricing cards polish, audit tool refinement, global styling upgrades. It has enhanced front rendering, initializing. And this is the power of AntiGravity Skills. And you can stack an infinite number of these skills to use within your software. That's how freaking cool this is. Bug fixes, fixed tail and syntax error, and then all these design principles it's applied and the impact, amazing. So it's now running on localhost 3000. So let's click on it and check it out. We built gorgeous websites, elevating digital presence. We've got the thing, the background. We've got the secure your audit, which is cool. We've got this hover over, which is amazing. Ready to convert secure spot. We can have that, remove that, whatever we want. We've got our different layouts here, which is decent. Free AI conversion critique, which is fantastic. And then we can add that in, give it a website, do some really cool stuff, and we could build that in as an AI system, super easy. And then we've got this. Look at this, guys. This is gorgeous. This is really freaking cool. We may just want to have one as a border to kind of bring you into ridiculously cheap, but I think it's really freaking cool. And then we've got what our partners say at the bottom with all those mini micro improvements, which is cool. So now we've done that. The next thing we want to do really is just kind of pick something that we want to improve before we let our users have, let's say, a login and they can have that. Let's say, for example, here, where they give this website, we wanted them to create an account. And within that account, we give them a list of breakdowns and to-dos of things they could do on their website. That would be really cool. But before that, what if we were to just kind of actually improve the website itself a little bit? So let's think about this button here, secure your audit. What if we wanted to improve that? Well, one of the things that we may want to do is head over to, let's say we get over to 21st.dev, and I want to find this, and I call this section UI sniping. An idea of it is that you can basically find UI components. We can also head over to a place called CodePen, which is cool. CodePen just gives you the code directly. You can just grab that code and pull it off, where you can search for components and buttons or whatever you want to. Check out this liquid gradient. This is gorgeous. Okay, that's a little bit kind of maybe I don't know, phantasmagoric, trippy type of vibe. But effectively, within CodePen, for instance, you could type in things like button or whatever you want, and it'll give you resources for it. Some things it's better than others, like button is a little bit maybe not as good, but you kind of get the idea. You can kind of find these beautiful things, or you just go to trending if you just want general inspiration. Again, I'm not affiliated with these in any way. I just think it's really freaking cool that they have these gorgeous designs. Look at this. How cool is that? And then all you do if you want this, by the way, is okay, this is freaking so cool. Check this out. Look how freaking cool this is. And just kind of deletes it. That's a really nice scrolling animation. So we could try and play around with that if we want to. So for example, if I want that, I might just come over, copy this, head back over to AntiGravity. And then AntiGravity, what I'm going to do is open up a new window. And I'm doing that just so I don't get context rot. So these have a context window, 200,000 tokens, whatever it is. But if you speak too long, the performance goes down the longer you speak to it. So whenever you do a task, open a new window. Hey dude, I want you to add this into the website, please, down below underneath the testimonials, please. All right. And then we just give it the code. I should come over and grab the code. So here, right, copy this and come back. So we wouldn't include this on our website, but I kind of just want to show you an example of how it works. So you can get the idea of the power of how freaking powerful this actually is and how cool this works and the kind of things that you can do in these softwares. And we just send that one off. Cool. So whilst this is now working on our project, let's actually head over to something that we would use. So for example, if I come over here to buttons, for example, on the left-hand side, I can search for anything I want to, right? We've got this button. Do we like this button? That's a very simple button. Maybe I want something with a bit of a gradient on it. You can just pick anything that you want to. You just literally scroll through, find something that you like. I like that one with a bit of a gradient. So I wonder if I come down, I type in gradient, let's see if we can find something cool. So there's a nice gradient. You can essentially just snipe and find the different buttons that you want. Like this, for example, here, I think is gorgeous. Look at this, right? I think this is beautiful. Say I wanted this on the website. What would I do? Well, I would come over and copy the prompt, which is really cool. We're okay for the moment. Thank you very much, 21st Dev. And then we come back over to AntiGravity and say, hey, dude, I'd like to add this functionality for me, please, onto the web page. And then you literally just paste in the prompt and it gives you all the information that you need. And it is freaking beautiful and gorgeous. And then I just literally hit enter and it goes off there for us instantaneously. And that will now run after the previous prompt is complete. Beautiful, guys. So now it's complete. Let me give you a little tip as well. If you ever find that it doesn't do on its first try, on 21st off there, but a little hack for you, by the way, is literally click on share component, come back over to AntiGravity and say, hey, dude, I want you to head over to this website and make sure you can import this and copy it line by line. Or so, give it a prompt along those lines, and then you literally paste it, and then it'll head over and extract the component exactly. Well, let's check that it's actually done that right. So let's head over to the website now, and now check this out, guys. This is going to blow your mind. You ready? We're going to refresh this, localhost. Here we go. Beautiful. If I scroll all the way down to the bottom, do I see this? Does this look familiar? Look at this. How freaking sick is this? And obviously, these can be anything, and we can put this anywhere we want to. Like, this is literally amazing. Like, this is ridiculous. Then if I scroll up, does this look familiar? Look how epic. This is actually ridiculous. And if you scroll left or right, it just basically crushes all of it. It's actually insane. So what I'm going to do now is basically tell it to remove this ready to convert thing and put this component somewhere that makes sense. So let's go back over. I'm going to say, hey, dude, could you remove the book a call pop-up on the bottom right from the page? Could you put that beautiful button animation somewhere on the website that makes sense and looks epic, and then maybe add some text above the card animation that we've got that says something like no need to burn your credit card money or something like that, so that the animation makes sense and it's all connected together beautifully. Perfect. And we're going to AntiGravity work on that in the background. And so now you basically have a website that is gorgeous and takes the world's best UI components, and it's been completely assessed by this incredible intelligent first design system. The next thing that we want to do then is create what we call a backend, somewhere where customers can actually create accounts, they can add information, all of that information gets stored. And to do that, we're going to leverage a database. But I can tell you this, it's really interesting. With connecting something called an MCP, which stands for Model Context Protocol, which is basically just a way, it's like a universal remote control basically, that lets AntiGravity talk to anything. You actually don't need to know loads of information about it, and it means that AntiGravity can create all these databases for us, we give it the credentials, and then it's effectively ready to rock and roll. So the way that we effectively accomplish this, and I can see AntiGravity is making some cool changes in the background, is you click on additional options and click on MCP servers. And the one that you're going to look for, very simply, is just something called Superbase. Really cool. You click on that, mine is installed. Now, if you haven't installed it, all you're going to do is going to come down to configure, and you see Superbase access token. You click on this button. Now, Superbase, you can make an account completely for free, which is cool. I think you have 2 environments. Then all you're going to do is come down to generate new token. I'm going to call this one website. It expires in how many days that you want to. I'll put mine for an hour for argument's sake. Click on generate token. And then what it'll do is generate this token. Then I want you to copy that, okay? And then what we can do is just obviously delete the ones that you don't need. You won't delete this because you don't need it, but you get the idea. Now, once you've done that, you're going to head back over to AntiGravity and you're going to paste in your Superbase access token right there and click on save, okay? Now, this is saving to your config, which is just the configuration. And when you come to MCP config, you'll see Superbase there on the left-hand side, which is fully enabled, which is amazing. And that basically means you can use it. Now, Superbase is just basically, think about Microsoft Excel, but on steroids. There's many incredible things you can do with it. But crucially, since you've now connected it, you can speak to AntiGravity in plain English and tell it what you want it to do. And this will manage everything from storing images and text and logins, you literally name it. But there's one setting I do want you to have a look at in Superbase. So this is one thing that's really worth you learning, because understanding databases is an incredible skill. It's going to make you amazing. But let me break it down, the kind of 2080 of it, right? On the left-hand side, if you come over to authentication, and I recommend that you do this just as you're building the app, just to make it easier. Let's say you want to have like an email sign up. You can click on sign in providers here, which is cool. And you can let them all sign up by email, by phone, by Apple, by Gmail. There's a million different things that you can do. It's so cool. What you can do here is confirm email, which means that we're not going to allow you to sign up for service unless you head into email and you sign. That's a little bit cumbersome when you're testing it. So typically speaking, what I do when I'm testing the project is I'll just turn that off. That's what I'll generally do. And you can always see your databases and what exists by on the left-hand side coming to databases, right? And we'll see in a second, you can see this is everything I've got there already. So one for YouTube videos, trends, metrics, whatever it is. And but you can speak to AntiGravity in plain English, and AntiGravity will make these changes, which is really cool. And so let's actually go ahead now and give the command to AntiGravity. Hey dude, what I'd like to do is add for me a login section with an email, a name,
and a website. And then what I'd like to do when that happens is create me an account where they can basically log in with that information. It saves it on Supabase. And then in that, I'd like them to have the ability to enter some information about their website. So do me a dashboard in the same style. Let's say, for example, there could be their goal, their income, and how many clients they have. And I'd like all this to be saved. So if I were to refresh it, all the information would be there. And I'd like to connect that to Supabase and let me know when that's complete, please. I will make the form look gorgeous. Awesome. So we send that off. Now check this out. It's going to leverage the Supabase MCP. If it doesn't know already, it should exactly have to do that, but you're going to see that do that in a second. And actually, we wouldn't need to do any other configuration to get this set up than that. And I'll just say here, Supabase MCP, just so it knows exactly what it's talking about. And as you can see, guys, right there, it's now using the Supabase MCP tool to do that, just like we thought. And as you can see, guys, AntiGravity is now complete. So check this out. This is gorgeous. We've got this animate thing in the background. We have this beautiful, basically like island that follows us down. We can hover over this and see all these different options and access whatever we want to. Trusted by industry leaders, who got all the companies that we're working with, scientific precision. Look at this animation. You hover over things. This is gorgeous. This is that beautiful bento style that we've got. Free AI conversion critiques. This is our free lead magnet. Analyze that now. It's got that beautiful glow. Invest in ROI, so we can pick our different growth packages as we like. Scroll down, and then we've got all these great testimonials. And can you see how well it's adhered to the brand guidelines? And actually, if I just come back up and show you this itself, by the way, can do so many different things. We can capture emails with this. But if I come back down, you can see stop burning cash on bad websites. Look at this, guys. Like, this is amazing. This is like actually crazy. And then towards the bottom of it, we've got a beautiful sign-up journey where we can actually capture emails and they can create accounts. And then we've got all of our links at the bottom with this beautiful, phenomenal design. So let's test this one out, shall we? So I'll call this one alex@outlook.com. We'll give it a password. My name will be Alexson. Maybe I should say Paddy, because Paddy's fighting this weekend. And then we've got a weekend, a kind of like a website. So let's do UFC.com for all our beautiful MMA fans out there. Then we click on Access Dashboard, and look at that responsiveness. This is so gorgeous. I click on Access Dashboard. Remember, it's alex@outlook.com. Let's copy that so we can test it. Yes, let's save the password. And guys, look at this. This is, by the way, I just said build me a dashboard and it's done it. So we can, this is sample information to show you what I mean, but you could upload photos here. You could do anything you want to. Hey, dude, my goal is to compete and take home the UFC lightweight title this weekend. Okay, awesome. Monthly income, let's put that at $150,000 Roonies. And active clients can be 2 million clients, whatever. And we can save those changes. Changes saved successfully. Cool. So we've got our goals, got everything we need to, website, all this data. Now here's really cool. If I log out, for example, okay, yeah, that's fine. And then let's just say, for example, that I refresh the page again. Now, what if I want to log in? Well, I click on login. It takes me down here, past all of our beautiful cards. I actually think this is so freaking cool. Stop burning cash on bad websites. It's like your credit card getting crushed and stuff. It's cool. I'm going to put all the link for this website in the community. It's so freaking sick. But look, we've got alex@alex.com. We can come down here. I click on login and let's see if it's got my information. And we'll just look at this, guys. Monthly income, goal, active clients. How freaking sick is this? And we can also validate this in Supabase. So if I head over now to Supabase, this is in Chrome. Let me come over to a different web page, which is going to be this one right here. So we've got users, which is cool. What we can do on the left-hand side is click on tables, which is sweet, and test this all out. So if I come down to, I think it's going to be users down here. So we click on this button here, and we click on view in table editor, and we should see Alex, right? So just to show you how this is all connected, I've got alex@outlook.com. Look at this, guys. Alex Alexson, website UFC.com. So if I change this to Bellator.com, right? Will that be reflected? Well, let's test that out and find out, shall we? So if I come back over to Weather Conversions and I refresh this, I'll just come back into the dashboard real quick and we see Bellator.com. How freaking cool is that? And again, if I go monthly income is now $1, I save changes. I come back over to here and then I refresh this. I don't think we store the actual dollar amount here, but like, yeah, you'll see that this is now going to be reflected. So if I come back over to, it should be on user dashboard, for example, we will see the $1 mark appear. There you go. Income is $1. So obviously we'll need to add row level security to this to make sure it's protected and kicking butt. And the way that you do that obviously is you click on it, for example, you click on RLS disable, just enable RLS for this site. That enables row level security within the Supabase. All right, cool. So that's all enabling. Very, very, very cool. We do it for our tables and we are ready to rock and roll. And so now we create this beautiful, gorgeous, responsive website that users can create accounts with, they're kicking butt. The next thing that we need to do now is actually host it online so that people can actually log in, buy our services, and see it whenever they want to. And so the first step of that is actually pushing it back to GitHub. So we're going to come over here and say, hey there, dude, I want to push this live now to GitHub. Could you make sure that the files are in order and that everything is appropriate so I can actually push this onto GitHub? I then plan to host this on Vercel. So please do any necessary amendments and push this back to GitHub, please. Beautiful. We send that one off. Fantastic. And then what we're going to do after that is then host this onto Vercel, which will take all the code that we've got on GitHub and let it be a beautiful website. And from Vercel, we can do anything. We can do things about, we can track metrics, we can track views, page speed, pretty much anything we want to. Then, going forward, anytime I ever want to make a change to this website, I just do it here in AntiGravity. That updates GitHub, and then GitHub will, because Vercel is, and I'll show you what Vercel is in a second, it's just a reflection of GitHub. That's all it is. It's just reflecting the code, and it just gives you extra access to do various different things, which you'll see in a second. So let's head over to Vercel now and check that one out. So good, the build works there, but let me duplicate the keys in here to access. Let me fix this quickly. So it's doing everything, all the relevant checks to make sure it's all ready to rock and roll, and we'll work with Vercel. So what on earth is Vercel? Well, let's head over and find out exactly, and so I can show you specifically. So we head over to vercel.com. I want you to create an account, and all you're going to do is connect your GitHub, okay? And then what you do is you click on Add New, and you're going to come down to, let me just move this out of the way, Add Project. And what you're going to see is the thing that you created, which is gorgeous websites, which is really decent. And then you can click on Import. And that was a few hours ago, because I just went to the cinema to watch 28 Years Later Part 2. Amazing film. Highly, highly, highly recommended, by the way. So this is very cool, but I want to make sure that GitHub is updated before I deploy it onto Vercel. Okay, beautiful. It is now fully committed to GitHub, which is fantastic. So what do? Well, you might have guessed it. We head over to Vercel. As you can see, their hobby plan, their free plan is very, very generous. So let's come over. We've got it. I'm just going to refresh this page, and then we are going to hit on the deploy, which is awesome. So come down here, hit deploy, and we are ready to rock and roll. You might notice environmental variables. That is the kind of thing that you would use if you are connecting this to ChatGPT, or maybe you have various different things you need to do. Now, we're most likely going to need to connect basically our Supabase to this. So we are going to need to add environmental variables. So this isn't going to load in the first instance, but what's really cool is you can actually connect a Vercel MCP to, you might have guessed it, AntiGravity, which means we don't actually need to mess around with it. But this seems to have loaded perfectly, so let's open this up and check it out. All right, I'm rocking and rolling, and look at this, guys. Gorgeous website at vercel.com. This is amazing. I'm just even turning the brightness up now. That's how powerful this is. View our work. Look at this. This is freaking gorgeous. Come down, and again, we've got everything now. And so it's now hosted on its own website, which is beautiful. We're going to come down. Again, we've got this beautiful animation. Let's now create an account together. So let's go down and create one. Let's go for a different email address, which is cool. We'll add a bit of a different password. The name will be John Doe. And then a website can be, let's just go with youtube.com. All right, sweet. Come down, access dashboard. Fantastic. Give that a hot second. Great, we'll save that. And now we are in John Doe, which is awesome because it's our main goal. Income, active clients, bada bada bing. Come down here, save changes. Beautiful. Again, obviously, this is just like a sample example, but you can kind of get the idea now that basically come back to dashboard and everything is still loaded there for us with all our revenue, our active clients, and our main goal. Okay, beautiful. So that's all locked and loaded, but I want to secure this. And the way we're going to secure this now is we're going to make sure that the environmental variables for Supabase are actually added through into this. But it's amazing, but it's live. This is how we're now going to go ahead and secure it. So click on continue to dashboard. Now, this dashboard here is where you can check everything. You can check your deployments and just how effortless it was just literally uploaded first time. You are going to get it to do that a lot more if you basically just say to it, hey, I'm going to publish this on Vercel. Just make sure that everything's in order for me to be able to do that. So you can see everything that you need within here. You've got things on analytics, which is really cool. One of the things that I like to add is basically this thing here for page views, which is really cool. So you can enable web analytics. You click on enable, which is fine. We can do this in the hobby view, but basically you just cannot exceed 50,000 views per month. We click on enable, and basically what this let us do is it gives you some package. And so all we do to get analytical view in our Vercel dashboard is you literally copy this, you come into AntiGravity, you throw it in, and then all you do is copy this, come back over to AntiGravity, do the exact same thing. That will save it and push it to GitHub, and then underneath there, you'll get your full web analytics, and you can see page views, your bounce rate, all of that key data. But the first thing I want to do is make sure that we lock in Supabase with the environmental variables. And anything like that, we put in the environmental variables. And guys, I actually have the Vercel MCP within my store. And look at this, it's called the Vercel list. So I don't even need to touch the environmental variables. AntiGravity's done that for me. Or should I say, Claude Sonnet 4.5 with AntiGravity. And so I don't need to do anything. So if you click on this button here, click on MCP servers, I click on manage MCP servers, you can see there's the beautiful Vercel. Now, the ones that I have activated, and I'll show you how you activate it first. What I've done for you in this document here at the bottom, I put a Vercel MCP guide. So the link to get your API key, basically just replace this here, which is insert Vercel API key with the token that you create. And then I just want you to copy and paste this text right here, come over to AntiGravity, post it in, and it'll work for you. Now it's got 150 connections. The 10 I use are 1, 6,
12, 13, 14, 15, and then I use these ones down here also. As you can see, the number, the last 4 I use are right there, which is really cool. And then it'll be able to do changes for you, and you can validate that by coming over here, heading back over to Vercel. And basically, guys, let me just run you through how you actually use those. Okay, so on here, you'll have all your projects. You click on the one that you like, which is Gorgeous Websites. All you're going to do is if I click on, for example, let's say I want to get speed insights, or maybe I want to get analytics. Let's add this in. So install the package, copy this, come back over. Let's go back to the agent. I'm going to put this in here, which is cool. And then I'm going to come back over here, and then let's copy this as well, and then throw that in also. Beautiful. Now, that will then deploy, and after 30 seconds, we'll start getting visibility. So you come onto settings. Again, it's just like kind of WordPress. And then on the left-hand side, what I want you to do, if you come down here to environmental variables, we should see Superbase. And just like that, you can see I've got Superbase, and it actually shows the keys right there. And then when I come back over, you can see it's now adding in the speed component, so we can start to get website insights. And that's basically exactly how easy it is. And as you can see here, guys, we've got Vercel Analytics. It's been successfully added. So that's all completely now and baked in there, and we can track these whenever we want to within Vercel. And then when I come over to Vercel and I click on Analytics and I refresh the page, you should see now, well, we shouldn't have any page views, right? Because we've not gone live yet, but you get the idea. We'd actually be able to track it all here, just like you would do in WordPress.
And so now we've covered exactly how to complete all those websites. The next thing I'm going to show you does genuinely change AntiGravity. What if you could get unlimited usage within AntiGravity using one of the most fastest growing open frameworks, fastest growing AI open frameworks on the planet? That's exactly what we're going to learn right now.
Open Code, which is the world's fastest AI coding agent. And I'm going to show you why that is significant and how that might affect you in this video. Now, what it does when you give it access to Open Code is it gives you access to over 150 different models that you don't get access to within AntiGravity, which will basically help you save money and power up your building, so if you hit limits, you're able to continue developing within AntiGravity. Now, as we know, AntiGravity is a coding app, and the best way to think about AntiGravity, your kind of coding app, is as a fighter jet. Think of it as a vehicle, okay? Now, there are many options, or many different fighter jets that you could be, and the model, the person who flies in that fighter jet, is the pilot. And the two pilots, if you like, that we have access to in AntiGravity are Gemini and Claude. And you can use GPT, ChatGPT, but it's not very strong model. It's only good at very kind of specific things. The point is that we have access to two brilliant models. But what OpenCode does is it gives us access to a full pilot army. So when we power up AntiGravity, we can use any of these models that we want to. And you can use these crucially from free, which is one of the main benefits, especially people who aren't on the top tier plan, who may run out of credits. You can actually use these to save costs, basically. So instead of you running out of tokens, which means that you stop building, you can now continue with the introduction of this. And you can even use local models. If you've seen this image before, you'll know why that's funny. And the cool thing about it as well is you can use all the GPT models using your ChatGPT subscription. So traditionally, we used to have to use our API tokens, so you'd be billed on token usage. But what OpenCode lets you do is actually use your existing ChatGPT Plus subscription in it to code and build anything you want to within AntiGravity. You can use it within any of the copilots or any of even your terminal, basically. So it's really comprehensive like that. And at the end of the video, I'm also going to show you one of the mechanisms that people are using AntiGravity technically for free if they hit their rate limits, but I'll touch more on that towards the end of the video. So let's start by looking at what OpenCode is. So as it says, it's an open source AI coding agent. It actually ruffled some feathers with Anthropic, who cut off access to this, but OpenAI have embraced it quite strongly. And it is, as I say, it is so fast growing. And there's a couple of their stats you can see actually if you come down here. Over 70,000 GitHub stars, which is code for internet updates. People really love it. 500 contributors and 650,000 monthly devs. So it's built for privacy first. It is a privacy first initiative, which is really interesting. And obviously, as you look at very sensitive data, it becomes quite a different thing because when you're building in these apps, it's within their kind of environment. So lots of interesting things. But the TLDR to take away from this is that OpenCode is an open source agent that helps you write and run code within any AI model. So think about it opening up the whole army of fighter jet pilots, and it's available as a terminal-based interface, desktop app, or you can use it as an IDE extension, which we're going to be using inside AntiGravity. So now we're going to cover exactly how you can get access to these state-of-the-art AI models for free and how you can get a zero-cost alternative. And we're going to add this together in AntiGravity, but it will also work in any of these IDEs
or even your terminal. And then I'm also going to show you one of the integrations with AntiGravity that you can add at the end of the video. Awesome. So we're on the OpenCode website. All we're going to do is come down and just click copy on this code right here. And then we're going to move to AntiGravity. I've created an example environment called OpenCode. And what we need to do now is use a terminal. So as you're familiar with, in AntiGravity, most of our conversations happen on the right-hand side, right? We pick the model, we pick whether we want fast or planning, but we're going to use a terminal for this because the other environment we may use, and remember, AntiGravity is an agentic first coding platform, right? So we often use the agent manager, and we open the agent manager and we have all our projects on the left, we can do conversations, and we've got kind of playgrounds, etc. But when we're using OpenCode, we're doing that in the terminal. Now, the terminal is something we can use on our computer, as you can access by on Mac command spacebar and type in terminal. And essentially, as you can see right now, it will open up for us. And then this is the terminal. We can do various different things and have a great time with it. But we're going to use this within AntiGravity because this is the user interface that we're familiar with. So I'm going to come up top, click on terminal. So you got file, edit, selection, view, go, run, terminal. Click on new terminal. This opens up the terminal panel, and you can see, guys, you've got the terminal, which is basically just communicating with your computer. And actually on the right-hand side, we can delete these. We can just literally add a new one, as many as we want to by clicking on the plus, and we can add as many different, meaning you've got multiple parallel agents running simultaneously. So I'm going to come down, we're going to paste in that command and hit enter. And as you can see, mine is already installed because it said, hey, Jack, it's already installed. And if you want to make sure it's installed or not, you can enter this code here, which is opencode space -- version. And this will tell you the version of OpenCode that's already on that, which is cool. And it says, hey, basically comes back and lets you know the specifics. And the way that we access this, just like everything else, when you install Claude Code, for example, if I wanted to use Claude, I would type in the word Claude, and all of a sudden Claude Code would start to appear in the terminal. And now I'm talking to Claude Code. Awesome. So as you can see, OpenCode is now appeared, and we've got this black interface, but maybe we don't like it down below. So what we can actually do here is right click and panel position and put this on the right hand side like that, right? Which is looking better. Now, if we want to get rid of the agent for purposes of this, we can do. On Mac, you can do Command L, I believe, and that sends it away. Does cool. So now we've got OpenCode exactly where that used to be, and you can ask it anything you want to. So the first thing we want to do with this, right, essentially is, now we get access to all these cool models, is you can do Command Shift, which goes from plan and build. Very, very simple. So what we can do here is we can down and we can type in models like so, and it shows you all of the models that basically you have access to, and you can view all of them by Control and A. So if you come down Control and A, you can see all of these different models now that you have access to. So let's say, for example, we wanted to use the most powerful OpenAI models. We can do this just with our typical ChatGPT subscription, or I could just pick one of the free models, or I could connect it to OpenRouter, which itself is connected to literally everything. So the way we do this, guys, very simply to get to the model is right click, and I'm going to go for connect like so. So connect to provider. Let's pick the provider we want to go for. So let's just say you want to do OpenAI. And by the way, there's an AntiGravity specific plugin for this that connects the email addresses that I'll get to. And we'll say, look, do you want to do your manual API key, which is just your API key, or your ChatGPT Pro or Plus? So if you've got a ChatGPT account, it just runs off that. So if I click on this one, for example, here, which is awesome, and all it says is basically copy all this information. So let's click on that link, open it up, and this should take us through to our ChatGPT account, and then we just simply sign in right here. There we go, and then basically it pops up with sign into Codex ChatGPT. So we say, hey, we're happy with that, and we click on continue like so, which is awesome. Authorization is successful. We can now return to OpenCode. So we come back over to OpenCode, and that should all be done. And now we've got all these beautiful models. So now we have GPT 5.2 Codex within AntiGravity. So one of the key takeaways here is you can use OpenCode when you run out of tokens, or you want to use a different model, because remember, all the models are specialized for something different. So even if you're using Gemini or Claude for like 99% of the stuff, it's really good for you to have the ability and the skills to say, do you know, actually, there's brand new models just launched. I want to use it. We can now use OpenCode to do that. And you've got the skills to do that now because you have access to over 150. And crucially, also OpenRouter, which, as you can see from their website, gives you access to everything. And this basically means now that you're not beholden to any one specific model for whatever you want to do. And so now let's actually give it my AntiGravity master prompt that I use whenever I build anything out. I'll put a link for it down below. You can have it completely for free. I spent weeks building and focusing on this, refining it, but just so you don't have to, basically. So all you do is literally copy all this stuff all the way down. So let's come over and grab it without moving it over, which is really cool. And what we're going to do is come back over then to our beautiful thing here, and we're just going to paste it in GPT 5.2 Codex, just so you get a sense of how it works. And we hit enter. And you can see already that the interface is really cool compared to the terminal. And again, you could run this in the terminal if you want to, just while that's thinking for a second. I'm going to Command T, type in terminal. 1 second, actually, we'll come down here. I think I've already got it open here. Again, you can just come down. If you ever want to use it in your terminal, you can do open code. And this is one of the things that the founder of Claude Code said, that they really like using it in a terminal because it's a little bit faster. But again, you don't necessarily need to use it. And just like that, guys, it's basically come back now with everything I suggested. And if you remember from my last video, again, I'll put a link on screen, specifically what this does. It initializes the project. And what it essentially does, before it does anything else, is creates Gemini.md on the left-hand side, which is all the core project files. And what we essentially do first is what we do, the North Star. What's the thing we want to do? Our desired outcome in plain English. The integrations. What are the services we want to connect to? The source of truth, the delivery, payload, the behavioral rules, and all that sort of stuff. So what we're going to do, the first part of our project is essentially answer these questions. As you can see, it's already created for us now a bit of a project map. So what I'd like you to do is I want you to go ahead and build me a LinkedIn post generator. I'm going to give you some copy, and then from that copy, I want you to create for me 3 LinkedIn posts that follow the best practices that I give you. No need for any integrations. Source of truth, essentially just going to be the best practices that I give you for LinkedIn. I want the final product to be on the website, and I want it to look quite visually engaging and quite cool. And yeah, no other constraints, just all on one page for me there. It's a very, very simple challenge just how to go and build that, just so you get a sense of how this works and interacts. And the really cool thing with this is that anytime I want to bring in any of the anti-gravity models or Claude Code or anything, I can do that really straightforward, which is super duper cool. So you go, it's gone down that, it's got that. Before I can proceed, any few details, I can refine the payload blueprint, the source copy you want the post generated from. So let's head to my LinkedIn and grab some example copy. And to do that, we're going to add a file on the left-hand side. So let's go to new file, and we'll call this one LinkedIn content example.md. Beautiful. And then we can just start pasting all the stuff in there that we want to. Of course, we could just simply get it to go ahead and describe all the stuff on LinkedIn if we wanted to. Cool. So we've got some example posts on the left-hand side. And what I can do here is say, hey, the LinkedIn posts are here. And actually what we can do is basically do an @ and you can type in the name of the file, which is LinkedIn content example.md, and just say, just follow it and create everything in this tone of voice and style. Awesome. And in terms of the website designs, I want you to leverage best practices for beautiful websites, UI design patterns, all that sort of stuff. Obviously, we get way more detailed. I just want to show you the basics of how to actually build something using this stuff. We send that one off like that. And again, now ChatGPT can go ahead and do all the thinking for us there. Then in terms of the design for the dashboard, why don't we come over to Dribbble and grab a little bit of inspiration? So we could just say something like, I don't know, like a dashboard, and let's see what Dribbble can grab for us so we can find something good and decent to give it as a reference image. This, I think, here looks really cool. So why don't we just give this a quick copy? Again, normally we would just mood board this, so we'd get like 4 or 5 images and describe the style and detail, depending on how detailed you want it to get. So I'm going to come back over and let's just paste that into the file. Yeah, let's paste that image.png, and I'll just sort of say, use this as the design reference for the dashboard. Cool. And then just do an @ sign, and let's go for design image.png. Beautiful. And let's send that one off. So what's really cool now is actually built out all the information for the data schema, the blueprint, and if we're happy with it, we just say, hey, that sounds good. Let's go ahead and do it. And it's really cool, guys, with this stuff. Like, you do just get free models. So all I could do if I wanted to is click on this plus here, for example, for new terminal. I could just go open code. And then what you've got here, if I just go for /models, I've got these free ones. So I can just say, I've got the big pickle, or we've got the Minimax MM2, we've got Grok Code Fast, whatever I want to. I can just ask it to start doing stuff if I want to, completely for free, no concern about tokens at all. And obviously, you've seen the Ralph Wiggum thing that people are doing and all that sort of stuff. If you did want to do that, and that burns a ton of tokens, you could run things like that, or just like low-level tasks that don't interfere with the main project on these free models if you want to. I do think the bigger benefit, though, is the fact that you kind of get access to all the models. But again, if you're on the more premium subscription anti-gravity, you wouldn't necessarily have to do that. What's cool here is come back and ask it for some different add-ons. So it said, for example, what do you want? So do you want to share copy buttons for each post, export all posts to CSV, Titan generation structure? Let's say that I want to be able to let me export CSV and let me copy the post with a nice copy button, and let's do confetti after I copy it. Okay, give it a little challenge, something kind of like add a little bit of edge to it. And while OpenAI is working in the background, I'll also show you how you can get access to Claude and also Gemini within OpenCode. So to do that, we're going to head over to this website. So to do that, you can head over to OpenCode AntiGravity Auth. Now, the way that this works is you'll have a Gmail account, and what this is doing is using the auth that you use in the browser to access the models. This is something I genuinely think that Gemini is probably going to patch. I mean, it happened to Anthropic actually, and Anthropic, like Claude Code, they shut that down, they changed that term. So this is something I don't think is going to exist for too long in the future, just because if everyone's using their email, basically they're probably not going to be paying for their usage. But it does exist at the moment, and the way that you can get it in AntiGravity if you want, just so you understand what is available, is you can literally copy this. So you essentially come back over and give it a prompt like this, which is install the OpenCode AntiGravity Auth plugin with the AntiGravity model definitions to my global
double config using this URL. Give me the Google auth later. Hit enter. And after you've done that, what AntiGravity will open the page. So you can select the account that you're basically doing it with. So the Google account like so. You click on this one. Then it asks for permissions to connect. And it says, also, you've successfully authenticated AntiGravity. You can now return to open code, and then you can close this tab or head back over to AntiGravity itself. And when you come back, you click on accept all, and then everything should be available within open code. And you can validate that by coming down on the top two terminal, click on a new terminal, like so. Let me just delete this one down, get out of the way, for example. And if I just type in, let's come here and enter in here, open code, we should get the full browser. And then you should be able to see something from AntiGravity. So if I come down and I do models, as you can see now, I've got Claude Opus 4.5 Think and AntiGravity, Sonnet 4.5, and also all the Gemini models. And that's basically just using your Google sign-in credentials. Again, I'm not using this. I've got the pro account, and I do think they'll patch it, but just so you're aware of what is available and the kind of like options out there to connect certain things to things. But what I want to show you now, which is really interesting, now all this code has been built by basically ChatGPT in any manner we want to. I think the use case that I would probably lean on the most with this stuff is if you're doing an insane amount of code, we can leverage some of the free models, and then we can bring in Gemini as kind of like essentially to kind of make the design unstoppable. Now, personally speaking, I'm always going to be using Gemini and Claude to build everything out. But if there are really specific mundane tasks that don't require a big brain approach to think about it, I will just whip up open code, get it to deploy, get it to work on something really specific without that. But if you are someone who's like in a position where you're really trying to stretch and think about your token management, these are really incredible options. So what I can say with this is, hey dude, what I want you to do is go through the design and essentially improve the design and layout of the entire dashboard, make it excellent, make it gorgeous, and do a sense check of all the code to make sure it is in a beautiful position and ready to go. So we can use Gemini now to review everything we want to and do whatever we'd like. One of the, I guess, limitations of OpenCode, I'd say, is that you don't have access to the browser like you do. So when you come and leave the AntiGravity section, you don't get access to the agent manager, and you don't get that inbuilt browser thing that you can use within the AntiGravity environment, basically. Beautiful. And now it's done. Let's give it an example. So I've got some information here about AntiGravity. Let's come down and click on Generate Posts and see this turned into a couple of LinkedIn posts for us. Give that a hot second and see what it'll do for us in the background. There we go. Imagine XYZ, ready to level up, build faster, some options, scroll down, and I could literally come down here, copy it, and then paste it onto LinkedIn. And obviously, we can make that way better by being really specific on the hooks and give it loads of information, but you get the idea of the kind of system you can build now with this, and then also coming to the terminal, new terminal, and then leveraging here open code whenever you want to use any of these sort of 150 models that are available within open code. So you can now use this alongside AntiGravity at the exact same time.
And so now we've covered everything about videos. The next thing we need to do then is learn how to leverage every skill that we've learned in this video to take it to the complete next level, which you can do by joining me by clicking the top link in the description.